Alone brushstrokes paint a beautiful landscape with distant mountains and vibrant red blossoms against a calm sky. This art hints at a story from a time long past. Long ago, the Yeonhwa clan stood proudly, shining brightly in its own time of glory. Its leader was a formidable figure whose presence commanded respect. The Yeonhwa clan once had its own era of glory. Countless martial artists who had fallen for the remarkable man called Yeomjae filled the training grounds. Yeomjae, with his long white hair and commanding presence, led his loyal followers carrying their clan's red banner high. Even the prestigious Tang clan of Sichuan highly praised his character and skill. People watched closely as the Yeonhwa clan grew, seeing its strength and influence spread far and wide. Based on the context of the original Raw story, this crop implies observation of growth fitting the visual of a gathering/toasting moment, which often signifies unity or celebration of success. In just one generation, the Yeonhwa clan became a strong martial family that everyone had to acknowledge. Even renowned masters couldn't carelessly touch the warriors of the Yeonhwa clan. During that golden age, the clan's influence spread far and wide across the land. It was a time when all the residents would cheer enthusiastically whenever they walked the streets of Seochang. But after the death of the Yeomjae, as the succession ceremony for the next clan had proceeded, the incompetence of the new head was revealed to the world. The Yeonhwa clan gradually declined. Over time, even those who had sworn their loyalty began to leave, turning their backs on the fading clan one by one. Still, the memory of Yeomjae, who once held great power and respect over the world, remained a bright light. The image of the Yeomjae, who once commanded the world, remained, glowing like a candle. To those of the righteous factions, he was a magnanimous hero. To his enemies, an overwhelming master. Yeomjae was truly a hero for the ages, a figure whose legacy could never be forgotten. A man walks away, deep in thought, wondering why. He realized he saw the image of Yeomjae overlapping with young Master Hua's retreating figure, just as someone urgently called out for the head steward. Head steward! The head steward quickly turned, his face showing clear shock and urgency. He looked down in alarm at the fallen men, realizing the grave danger they were in. The head steward anxiously asked about the young master and young lady. He was told that assassins sent from the Changhua Merchant Guild ambushed them. A warrior shouted that Elder Zhou and the other fighters were fighting back somehow, but there were too many assassins. D grimly at his surroundings. He realized the young lord and the young lady are in danger. He decided quickly that the young lord and young lady were in great danger, and declared he would rush ahead to inform young Master Hua immediately. With a swift, "Why yes, sir," a warrior acknowledged the order as the determined man sprinted away, leaving behind the chaos. The man moved with incredible speed, a blur of motion, as he rushed off to deliver the urgent message. The young master firmly states that the debts owed by the Yeonhwa clan will be paid back right away. With a determined gaze, he promises to free them from the clutches of the Changhua Merchant Guild. This marks a new chapter in their story, as the consequences of this bold declaration begin to unfold. The people gathered listened in stunned silence, clearly shocked by the young master's words. One of the elders, trying to understand, cautiously asks if this means the young master is ready to use force on their behalf. The young master calmly agrees, which further startles another elder sitting across from him. The concerned elder warns the young master, asking if he knows the powerful group that stands behind the Merchant Guild. He reveals that the formidable Gongdong faction is their backer, showing images of strong, sword-wielding warriors. The elder emphasizes that the Gongdong is the strongest power in the entire martial world, but the young master simply asks who backs them. The young master reassures head steward Du to not worry about the situation. He calmly explains that once the original debt is cleared, the Gongdong will have no reason to act against them. The steward agrees that clearing the debt is more than enough for them, stating they would never recklessly challenge the Gongdong. Seeing the young master's confidence, the elders feel relieved and conclude that the once dormant dragon has truly awakened. The young master subtly observes their reaction, a thoughtful expression on his face. The elders respectfully take their leave, wishing the clan strength and prosperity. As the young master and his steward walk away, the Changhua Merchant Guild remains a key focus in his mind. Head steward Du to investigate the Changhua Merchant Guild thoroughly, gathering all information from their business to their ties with the Gongdong. The steward is shocked, asking if the young master was serious earlier, but the young master simply asks if he looked like he was joking. The young master explains that favors and grudges must be handled completely, warning that if they leave the Changhua Guild alone, they will surely face trouble later. He states that at this point, it is a situation of do or die. He points out that if the guild's decade of support led to such trouble, they would not offer help again, making their current actions the least they can do in return. The young master smiles, expecting others to see his actions as nothing but the reckless bravado of a madman. He decides to wait and see how everything unfolds. Later, a servant reports that the young master's tasks have been completed. The young master tells everyone to gather around and introduces two elders who are important figures in the clan. The clan steward seems confused, asking the young master who these new people are. The young master then introduces the new warriors who will serve the clan, the famed youths of Zhongshan. He proudly presents them as the Zhongshan Four Tigers. The Four Tigers greet them, eager to work together, while the clan elders look completely shocked. The young master tells them to hold their shock, as the real surprise is yet to come. He then reveals that every single one of these powerful new warriors is younger than him. This revelation leaves the elders and steward utterly dumbfounded, staring in disbelief. They exclaim that such a thing is impossible, struggling to grasp the young master's words. The young master, ignoring their surprise, says he is hungry and asks for meat, wondering why everyone is so stunned. One of the new warriors suggests they are simply shaken by their presence. The young master asks if they do not recognize the Zhongshan 4 tigers, and one elder angrily asks why he brought new warriors without talking to him first. The young master calmly glances at the elder, then asks if he was consulted before the other boys were sent out earlier. He then states his simple rule: if he approves, they join, and if not, they are expelled. He reminds them all that he is the next clan head, and tells Masok to go fetch a cow. Masok sadly replies that they have no money left, reminding the young master that over 10,000 gold vanished just moments ago. The young master remains silent, seemingly unfazed by the lack of funds. He leads the way to a hidden room filled with gold and various treasures. He explains that the fraud had quite a large secret stash hidden away. The steward asks nervously if the young master killed someone to get it, but he clarifies that he acquired it through legitimate means. The steward then points to an ornate folding screen, asking the young master about it. The young master casually explains he took it because it was a piece by the renowned artist Jang So-san, much to the steward's shock. He adds that it was worth 90 gold, so he grabbed it, and the steward confirms it looks like a genuine and valuable piece. The young master then asks if this is enough money to buy a cow, and the steward quickly agrees it is more than enough. With a stern look, the young master tells him to stop complaining and go buy the cow. The next morning dawns, bright and clear, signaling the start of a new day. The folding screen, taken by the young master, now glows with a mystical purple aura. The sun rises over the mountains, bringing a fresh morning to the clan grounds. In the open training area, many sacks are laid out, and warriors stand around them, ready for what is next. The young master addresses the assembled warriors, acknowledging their curiosity about why they were called so early. He explains that after all the recent events, he realized they desperately needed special training to improve themselves. He emphasizes that a strong body is the true base for sword skills. Even great sword techniques are useless with a weak body. Therefore, he announces that starting today, they will begin a special physical training program. The young master declares that he will personally be in charge of this training. He instructs them to follow his lead closely and ensure no one falls behind, as the warriors listen intently. He points to the sack at each of their feet, which contains a siam of rice, about 144 kilograms, and will be their constant training partner. He strictly warns them that the rice is not for eating, and anyone caught eating it will be put to death, noting that someone always tries. The warriors look at the sacks, noticing that theirs seem smaller than a full siam, but are still incredibly heavy. They wonder aloud what they are supposed to do with such heavy bags. The young master simply commands them to hoist the heavy sacks onto their backs. Warriors look at each other in disbelief, asking for clarification. With glowing red eyes, the young master sternly orders them to shut up and lift the sacks, unless they prefer a beating. He warns them that even though his blade might be blunt, it can still break every bone in their bodies. He gives them a clear choice: either lift the heavy sack or spar against him. One of the warriors strains, trying to lift the sack, finding it unbelievably heavy. Another warrior grunts with effort, while the young master questions if the Zhongshan boys are actually joking about the task. He scolds them for being embarrassed, especially since they train in demonic arts, a demanding path. He then demands that each of them carry 3 sacks and repeats his offer: do it or fight him. The warriors groan and struggle, clearly overwhelmed by the weight of the multiple sacks. They continue to exert immense effort, trying desperately to lift the heavy bundles onto their shoulders. The 2 elders watch the scene in confusion, wondering what exactly the young master is planning with this intense training. The young master shouts good when he watches several warriors manage to hoist multiple sacks. He encourages them, saying that once they decide to lift it, they truly can, and they must ignore any weak thoughts of doubt. He tells a struggling young warrior that failure means death in this world, so nothing is truly impossible. He lets out a triumphant shout, and commands them to begin with 200 squats immediately. With a fierce and determined smile, the young master orders all of them to follow his lead. A bright flash of light appeared, showing the end of a long and terrible battle. The air was filled with magic and dust. Broken weapons and tattered banners lay everywhere, marking the scene of a fierce fight, where many had fallen. The place looked like a war zone around the battlefield. Many warriors lay defeated, their swords scattered on the rocky ground. High above, a lone figure stood, looking down at the chaos they had caused. A close look showed the defeated warriors, their hands limp, signifying the great losses suffered in this brutal fight. No one seemed to be left standing except one. A sword clattered to the ground, adding to the silence that followed the intense combat. It seemed the battle was finally over for almost everyone. The main character, battered but still standing, looked over the fallen bodies, having survived the desperate struggle against many foes. He was the last one left in the area. Suddenly, the Shaolin abbot, Hyun Jinshin, appeared, looking furious and worried. He exclaimed that the main character was finally worn out. Other powerful leaders like the Manhwa sect leader Zhang Kuang and the head of the Namgung clan, Namgung Huang, agreed. They all believed it was time to kill the weakened main character for good. The main character, hearing their words, quietly thought, now, preparing himself for the final confrontation. He knew this was the end game. His eyes glowed with fierce red energy, showing his determination and pain as he faced the remaining enemies. He was ready to fight until his last breath. He focused on the last opponent still standing, thinking only you remain. The battle was not truly over until this last enemy was dealt with. The Shaolin abbot Hyun Jinchen stood ready, holding his staff and reciting a prayer. He prepared to face the main character, telling everyone to get ready. The main character screamed in rage, his eyes burning red as he lunged forward for the final attack. His anger fueled his last burst of strength. The main character attacked with great force, his face contorted in determination. Danger was coming fast. The main character attacked with great force, clashing fiercely with the abbot, who blocked with his staff. The impact sent a round object flying. The abbot barely held his ground, deflecting the main character's powerful strike which cracked the earth beneath his feet. He was struggling to defend himself. The abbot let out a surprised cry, feeling the intense pressure of the attack. He was clearly caught off guard by the main character's power. The abbot staggered back from the impact, letting out a surprised sound. He was struggling against the onslaught. Gathering green spiritual energy, the abbot shouted at the main character, calling him a fiend demonic god. He was ready to fight back with his full strength. With a mighty roar, the abbot unleashed his great Buddha palm, sending a huge wave of green energy towards the main character. It was a devastating attack. The powerful attack crashed forward with a loud impact, filling the area with bright light and destructive force. The outcome of this final move was uncertain. Two figures stand facing each other under a clear sky. One asks who the other is, and the person in red and black replies that he is Zhang Qian, known as the demonic god. The other man finds the title demonic god amusing and mocks Zhang Qian, suggesting he call himself the king of the underworld instead. This man is Cheng Dobo, the second son of the Chunghwa Merchant Guild. Two young children watch the exchange with worried expressions, sensing the tension. The man in red, Hua Mujin, clutches his head, clearly in distress. His supposed madness appears to be getting worse by the day. His inner turmoil is highlighted as an exclamation appears above him. Meanwhile, another person remarks that with the family's heir in such a state, the Yomhwa clan's future seems bleak. Liu Choyan, the master of the Chonghua Merchant Guild, adds that Hua Mujin's family's misfortune is not bad news for her own side. She claims to speak out of blood ties. The man in red closes his eyes, signifying that he has nothing more to say to them. The others take his silence as agreement and announce that a duel will take place at the Flying Shadow Pavilion on the 5th day of next month. The figures in red and black turn and walk away. The man in red watches them leave, listening to the details of the coming duel. He seems to be forced into this martial arts challenge. Cheong Dobo confirms that this is a serious promise made between martial artists. He warns that if Hua Mujin breaks it, he knows the consequences. The man in red watches the retreating figures. He hears them call him demonic god Zhang Chan, a name that echoes in his mind. As the others disappear through the gate, the man feels as though important decisions are being made for him, without his own say. The two young children, a boy and a girl, look up at the man, clearly concerned about what he will do next. One of the children tells him he has never properly swung a sword before. He questions this statement, looking at them with surprise. He finds the idea that he has never swung a sword quite funny. A powerful energy flares around him, hinting at his true abilities. He attempts to gather his inner strength, but something feels off. A look of confusion crosses his face as his power suddenly vanishes, leaving him bewildered. The children watching him also seem puzzled by the change. He is shocked to find he has no internal energy at all. He realizes this body is frail and weak. He clenches his fist in frustration. His bones feel so weak, he wonders if this body can even hold a sword, let alone fight. The little girl, Hua Soyeon, pleads with him to stop his strange behavior. She appears distressed and upset. The boy, Hua Dojin, also asks him to come to his senses. He mentions the man's madness, implying this behavior is not new. The man, Hua Mujin, wonders who would sit quietly after being called a fool and an idiot. He demands an apology from the child. The children refuse to apologize. Tears welling in their eyes, they stand their ground, clearly very upset. The little boy, Hua Dojin, shouts that Hua Mujin is responsible for their parents' deaths. This accusation deeply affects the man. Hua Dojin turns and runs away, leaving Hua Mujin alone in the courtyard. The little girl tries to explain, saying that Hua Mujin might not remember because these outbursts happen often. She asks him to be understanding. The scene goes black, indicating a transition or a moment of deep reflection. Hua Mujin walks away from the children, processing their words and his confusion. He is left alone in the vast courtyard. He realizes that even the children treat him like he is crazy, finding the entire situation strange and unbelievable. The setting changes to a beautiful sunset over a traditional building as Hua Mujin's mind begins to wander back to his past. He walks past a large stone tablet, his thoughts consumed by memories resurfacing from deep within him. He clearly remembers beheading the Namgung clan head with absolute certainty. He also recalls the suffocating pain when his own heart was pierced. The agony is still vivid. He fulfilled his vengeance for Yanhua and her siblings, believing he had found peace and closed his eyes forever. He questions how the hell this happened, as he thought his life had ended peacefully. He is completely baffled by how this could have happened. He also wonders who those children are, as they resemble people from his past life. He remembers being told he has madness. He dismisses the idea, questioning what kind of nonsense that is. Suddenly, a young man rushes towards him, calling him young master with urgency and concern. The young man stops Hua Mujin, clearly worried. He asks why Hua Mujin went out in such a frail state, introducing himself as his servant. Hua Mujin asks who he is, and the servant replies that Hua Mujin already knows him, looking confused by the question. The servant sighs, realizing the madness has struck again. He offers to explain everything to his young master. This retainer, Masok, explains Hua Mujin's past. He was once an exceptionally talented and wise heir, whom countless righteous sects wished to take as a disciple. Masok confirms that Hua Mujin, at the age of 23, was the Yomwa clan heir. He adds that this is the 6,205th time he has had to explain this. Hua Mujin scoffs, asking why his Dantian, the core of his internal energy, is now so weak, if he was once so great. He also questions why everyone treats him as though he is insane, referring to his supposed madness. Masok hesitates, then reveals that everything happened 17 years ago, taking Hua Mujin back in time. In the past, a young Hua Mujin, only 6 years old, stood ready for a duel, proposing a fight without internal energy. He requested a duel today from Dobo, saying he requested a duel today Dobo. Chong Dobo, age 9, accepted the duel, also agreeing to fight without internal energy, and prepared for battle. The two young boys began their intense duel, exchanging powerful strikes in a flurry of motion. It is unclear who first suggested the duel, but the children fought fiercely while the elders were away. The young Chang Dobo landed a powerful punch, demonstrating unexpected force in the fair fight. Chiang Dobo continued his relentless assault, pummeling Hua Mujin with a barrage of powerful blows. Hua Mujin was thrown back, clearly in pain and shocked by the strength of Dobo's attack. The young Hua Mujin thought to himself, as expected of Dobo, he is deflecting every blow. He continued his powerful assault, landing more strikes on Hua Mujin. Hua Mujin, lying injured, questioned why Dobo was using internal energy when it was supposed to be a fair fight with bare fists. Dobo, with a menacing expression, aimed another powerful strike at Hua Mujin, calling him a fool. Hua Mujin was shocked by Dobo's blatant use of internal energy, realizing the fight was not fair at all. Dobo landed a devastating kick, sending Hua Mujin flying through the air with considerable force. Hua Mujin landed hard, clearly severely injured and overwhelmed by Dobo's unexpected power. He cried out in pain, blood staining his mouth, wondering why his brother Dobo would do this to him. He couldn't believe Dobo was using the Seven Wounds Fist in a duel that was supposed to be without internal energy. Dobo looked down at the injured Hua Mujin and sarcastically asked if he still considered him brother. Dobo explained that the Seven Wounds Fist of the Gongdong sect leaves lasting after effects with even one strike, a common saying. Hua Mujin was bleeding heavily. Dobo revealed he had been experimenting with the technique, mentioning he tested it on another disciple who was still near death. Dobo then asked Hua Mujin how he felt after receiving the full force of the Seven Wounds Fist. The final crippling blow was shown, completing the flashback of Hua Mujin's devastating injury. Back in the present, Hua Mujin now understands why he is treated like a lunatic, realizing the Seven Wounds Fist caused this. He acknowledges that if the after effects of the Seven Wounds Fist caused his madness, it all makes sense. He also learned that Hua Mujin was forced to wager all of the Yomwa clan's secret arts in that fateful duel. Hua Mujin, filled with anger, questions how Dobo could cripple his Dantian, turn him into a lunatic, and then shamelessly challenge him again. He wonders why he was left in this terrible state and learns from Masok that it was the decision of the former clan head, his father. Masok confirms it was Hua Mujin's father who decided it. He explains that young master Chiang Dobo was also his nephew. More importantly, Cheong Dobo was the heir of the Changhua Merchant Guild, one of the 10 greatest in the Central Plains, giving him immense influence. Because of Dobo's powerful background, the matter ended with only a severe scolding for him, despite crippling Hua Mujin. Hua Mujin is outraged by this injustice. Hua Mujin calls his own family pathetic. He then asks Masok about the whereabouts of his parents. Masok looks sad and avoids eye contact, clearly hesitant to share the painful truth about Hua Mujin's parents. The scene shifts, emphasizing a somber and sorrowful atmosphere as the answer approaches. Hua Mujin walks into a quiet, dimly lit room, his movements heavy with dread. He sees an altar with lit candles and ancestral tablets, realizing the grim truth about his parents. Masok explains that Hua Mujin's madness only worsened over time, and his father fell into deep debt trying desperately to find a cure. 9 years ago, his mother's illness grew worse, and she passed away. 3 years later, his father followed. Masok explains that his father, burdened by immense debts, also passed away. Hua Mujin stands before the ancestral altar, with his younger siblings facing the memory of their deceased parents. He feels the heavy burden of being a son who tormented his parents until their deaths, a child who, in effect, devoured his parents. He realizes that only his younger siblings are left to suffer, and the Yomwa clan's reputation is now utterly ruined. Masok continues, explaining that all that remains are the debts incurred trying to cure Hua Mujin, 2 loyal retainers, and a dozen warriors under them. Lastly, Masok introduces Hua Mujin's younger brother, Hua Dojin. He then introduces Hua Mujin's younger sister, Hua Soyan, who stand together both looking sad. They are his only remaining family. The memory of Hua Dojin shouting that their parents died because of Hua Mujin replays in his mind, hitting him with immense guilt. Hua Mujin finally understands that his family was completely ruined because of his long-term illness and the tragic events surrounding it. He realizes it is no wonder the children lashed out at him the way they did, feeling the weight of his past self's actions. As night falls, Hua Mujin is shown in his room, surrounded by quiet darkness deep in thought. Inside his room, amidst many history books, he begins to uncover crucial details about his true identity. He discovers that he was indeed demonic god Zhongqian, who truly died after a fierce battle with the 9 great sects 30 years ago. He concludes that the vivid sensation of the world means this is real, not a dream. He has truly been reborn into a new body. He is not just a lunatic without clues. He has taken over the body of Hua Mujin, the Yonghua clan's eldest son. Zhongqian reflects that since the enemies he had to kill are all dead, he has lived a life with no regrets. He finds 2 heartwarming drawings from his younger siblings, Hua Dojin's drawing of a warrior and Hua Soyon's plea for him to recover quickly. Seeing these, he feels a connection to his new younger siblings. Their tragic story reminds him of the people he once knew. He decides he will have to live in this body after all, and perhaps he should help these children, even if just for a while. He then identifies his greatest obstacle, the Changhua Merchant Guild, the very source of his family's pain. The guild is the cause of all this ruin, the one who crippled Hua Mujin's body and destroyed the clan. The first step is to prepare for the duel with Chong Dobo, which is scheduled for the 5th day of next month. He smiles with determination, knowing that before the duel, he must somehow regain his martial arts skills. He accepts that he must start over from the very beginning to achieve his goals in this new body. He sits in a meditative pose, reflecting on the situation. It reminds him of the first time he learned martial arts. He recalls how difficult it was even to breathe back then, when he first began his journey in martial arts. He focuses intensely, channeling his inner energy within his new body. Howl, he senses a powerful energy within him and realizes this body's natural talent is truly exceptional. Energy swirls around him as he meditates, feeling the potent abilities awakening within his new form. He finds he doesn't even need the usual process of sensing chi. Simply closing his eyes is enough to connect with it. Powerful golden aura surrounds him, indicating a rapid and profound awakening of his internal energy. As he continues to cultivate, his energy manifests as intense light and heat. The light from his cultivation shines brightly, extending beyond the building as a shooting star streaks across the night sky. Inside, 2 old men are startled by the sudden surge of powerful energy emanating from Hua Mujin's room. One of the old men, a retainer, looks alarmed and rushes towards the source of the energy. He bursts into the room, calling out, "What is it, young Master Hua?" and finds Hua Mujin collapsed on the floor. Another old man, seeing Hua Mujin unconscious, dramatically exclaims that young Master Hua is dead, with a hint of satisfaction. The first old man checks Hua Mujin and confirms he is not dead. His pulse is stronger than ever. The second old man is visibly annoyed. The second old man grumbles, frustrated that Hua Mujin got healthier instead of dying, and angrily crushes something in his hand. Hua Mujin wakes up, in pain from forming a dantian, and questions what kind of unique body this is. He asks if his body possesses some special constitution, and the old retainer confirms it does. The retainer explains that a Shaolin elder once called it the heavenly martial constitution, a body blessed by heaven to follow the righteous path. Hua Mujin laughs bitterly, then coughs up blood, realizing this constitution is utterly incompatible with demonic arts. The retainer confirms that anyone with this body who attempts to cultivate demonic arts will suffer unbearable pain, and possibly even death. He explains there are various heavenly constitutions, but this one is specific to righteous paths. He wonders why, out of all heaven's countless gifts, he received this one. He remembers the duel is next month, adding to his frustration. He also notices the 2 old men by his side and asks who they are. Masuk identifies them as Do Baekshin, the chief steward, and Zhou Huanbong, an elder. Du Baekshin comments that Hua Mujin's condition worsens daily, and they should prepare for his inevitable death. Elder Zhou Huanbong is shown with a sinister expression, causing Hua Mujin to internally brand him a bastard for his callous attitude. Elder Zhou and the others seem to wish for Hua Mujin to die soon, but Hua Mujin refuses to give up. He looks up at the starry sky, clenching his fist. He declares with fierce resolve that he will not die. Looking out over the vast city under the meteor shower, he yells, "I won't die, damn it!" A man with bandages around his chest and arm throws a powerful punch, testing his strength in a simple setting. His powerful strike creates a swirl of dark energy around his hand, showing the force behind his actions. He quickly follows his punch with a strong kick, moving with speed and grace as he trains. Suddenly, the man appears in a brighter, more modern place, continuing his intense movements and showing great speed. He looks down at his feet, then up, wondering about his new self and realizing this is the legendary heavenly martial body. He clenches his fist, feeling the strength of this special body and believing it should be able to handle anything thrown at it. If it is a body granted by the heavens, it should at least withstand this much. He looks up at the ceiling, confirming that everything he asked for has been prepared by someone named Masuk. Dressed in a new suit, he looks very serious and declares that the time has finally come to start his journey. He makes a swift movement with his leg as he prepares to use the first form of the solid solitary nine swords technique. With fluid movements, he thinks about how he always carries his sword and is ready to step forward no matter what. He swings his glowing blue sword with great power, creating a strong wave of energy around him. The man swings his sword in a circle, creating a powerful vortex of energy in the air. The character expressed that it had been a long time since he had this much fun. He was sitting, seemingly holding something small in his hand while observing others. He flicked a small die in his fingers, feeling a rare thrill he hadn't known in a long time. His two followers watched, one gesturing with concern, while the other seemed more tense. The young master then asked the kneeling men what they were curious about, questioning why people who hated losing money would support a clan without any collateral. He suspected they had bad intentions, and one man quickly tried to deny it while looking very nervous. The young master stated that he could hear their minds working and warned them to think hard about their situation. He warned them to think carefully, suggesting they wouldn't be able to speak after swallowing 30 of the dice. The narration continues the previous threat, stating that even if they wanted to speak, they wouldn't be able to after the consequence. One of the kneeling men finally admitted that their actions were ordered by the Cheonghua Merchant Guild, whose members looked stern. The kneeling man hesitated, starting to answer the young master's implied question about the guild. He then added a simple, "Hey." The young master threw more glowing dice onto the table, reminding them that they were just ordinary people. He insisted that if they were going to be faithful to someone, they should be faithful to their subordinates. He emphasized that even if their bodies were chopped to pieces and the place burned to the ground, those guys in the guild wouldn't even bat an eye. He then looked down with an intense expression, waiting for a reaction. A powerful man, dressed in old martial arts clothes, throws a strong punch. He looks ready for a fight, showing his strength. His hand moves with great speed, creating a powerful swirling force, as if hitting something invisible. It shows he is very strong. He then follows up with a swift, strong kick, moving his whole body with grace and power. His movements are sharp and quick. Now, in a modern setting, a man in dark clothes launches himself into the air, delivering a powerful kick surrounded by glowing blue energy. He moves very fast. The man looks up, realizing he possesses a special heavenly martial body. He understands that his new body is very strong. Even though he is covered in bandages, his body looks very tough and powerful. He thinks that a body given by the heavens should be able to handle a lot of pain and effort. If it's a body granted by the heavens, it should at least withstand this much. Everything he asked for, Masok already prepared it. He looks at the grand ceiling, confirming that everything he requested has been prepared for him by Masok. With a determined look on his bandaged face, he declares that his new journey or training starts right now. It begins now. He begins a special sword technique called Solitary Nine Swords First Form, Declaration Form. Moving with a strong focused stance, blue energy glows around his foot as he stomps down. He continues to practice his sword, moving with purpose and power. He knows he carries his sword and is ready to face anything at any moment. He swings his sword with great force, showing his mastery and the powerful energy that comes with his movements. Not even Mount Tai can stop him. He continues practicing, moving with focused energy in a swirling pattern. He is ready to face anything at any moment. The young man, Hua Mujin, was overwhelmed with sadness and frustration, muttering out his pain. He stood in the pouring rain, a large sword in hand, his face showing a mix of despair and determination. Mujin had been swinging his sword every single day, tirelessly practicing his technique. His hard work had paid off, building strong muscles, allowing him to now easily wield a heavy iron sword with one hand. Despite his newfound strength, he worried that his sword technique was still not stable enough, evidenced by the broken bamboo poles around him. He sighed, feeling the pressure, as the martial arts competition was only 1 week away. Suddenly, 2 small children appeared, calling out to Brother Mujin and asking why he was still training so hard. The young boy and girl stood shyly at the entrance, observing Mujin's intense practice. Mujin gently warned them that it was dangerous to be there and told them to go play somewhere safer. The little girl confessed she was worried, having seen him train nonstop for days, and wondered if his extreme training was because of her harsh words earlier. She remembered a time when she had angrily blamed Mujin for their parents' death, a memory that still pained her. Mujin looked pained, recalling her words and the heavy burden he carried. Looking at the innocent children, Mujin was reminded of his own past, of younger days or perhaps other children he had once known. He gently patted the children's heads, reassuring them that everything would be fine and not to worry. The little boy, full of admiration, tried to imitate Mujin's sword stance, exclaiming how amazing it looked. Mujin found the boy's imitation cute, but gently told him he needed to stretch his arm a bit more to do it correctly. The children whispered to each other, realizing their attempts didn't quite match Brother Mujin's real stance. Seeing them, Mujin's mind drifted back to his own childhood, remembering how his master had taught him to stretch and hold a sword. He recalled his master's precise instructions for swinging the sword. His master had taught him to exhale slowly for as long as possible when swinging, hold without rushing, and then inhale quickly and softly when returning the sword. Mujin pondered these forgotten teachings, recognizing their true importance. He understood that the most crucial element in mastering the solitary 9 swords was something specific and fundamental. The key, he realized, was the breathing method associated with the pupil technique. Clenching his sword, Mugen felt a surge of regret for having forgotten his master's vital words. A determined smile spread across his face as he vowed to himself that he would definitely win the competition. He kindly told the children to return to their room, dismissing them so he could focus. The children quickly scurried away, leaving Mugen alone to his thoughts once more. They looked back, wondering nervously if everything would truly be all right for their older brother. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in his journey, titled Rebirth of Divine Demon. Under the stormy skies of Chapter 6, the rain began to fall heavily. The rain continued to lash down, mirroring the intensity of Mugen's renewed focus. He resumed his training, now deeply concentrating on the correct breathing method. With each swing of his sword, he made sure to exhale slowly and for as long as possible. He then held his breath without any rush, before inhaling as he returned to his starting position. His inhalation was slow and short, perfectly synchronized with his sword movements, just as his master taught. Mugen executed the powerful 5th form, a vibrant red energy bursting around him as he shattered the training logs. He continued his relentless practice, the red energy a testament to the internal power he was channeling. With each explosive move, he poured out all the internal energy he had gathered, breaking through his barriers. He successfully completed the complex move, demonstrating his growing mastery. Though visibly tired, Mugen felt a sense of accomplishment after pushing his limits. He reflected on the pupil technique, a unique qigong that builds internal energy through direct body movement. This qigong was different from others that focused on energy circulation through quiet meditation. Mugen's sword flashed, his movements becoming more precise and powerful with each swing. Because it built energy through movement, the pupil was often considered a lower-class martial art, where significant energy channel development was unexpected. He continued his practice under the rain, his sword movements sharp and deliberate. However, Mugen understood that for awakening such a pupil technique, something else was important. The true key to unlocking its potential was a stable and consistent breathing method. His renewed training, guided by proper breathing, allowed red energy to flow strongly as he practiced. His swings were now powerful enough to create impactful bursts of energy, shattering the targets. Unlike his previous attempts where swinging the sword had been difficult and clumsy, now, with the refined breathing technique perfectly aligned with his sword movements, his body became increasingly stable and controlled. His internal energy glowed brightly, showing the significant progress he had made in his training. After repeating the demanding sword technique training dozens of times, the dantian, which had been scattered and weak for years, slowly began to condense and grow stronger. The next day dawned, bringing new developments. A servant carefully carried a tray of food, ready to bring it to young Master Hua. Another servant, observing, wondered aloud if young Master Hua was still training so hard, looking surprised by his dedication. The first servant confirmed that Hua Mujin had indeed become a completely different person. He mentioned that Mugen used to collapse frequently during training, but now he no longer showed any signs of weakness, suggesting the divine energy treatment had been effective. He pondered, amazed at the effectiveness of the Wudang Beixian treatment. He couldn't believe such a great improvement could happen in just one session, and sternly told the other servant to alert him immediately if any problem arose. The servant quickly agreed, bowing respectfully as he rushed away to deliver the meal. The older servant watched him leave, silently acknowledging the young master's intense efforts. The servant made his way towards the training area where Mugen was. He reached the building, ready to call out to the young master. He called out to young Master Hua, announcing that it was time to eat. Mugen stopped his intense practice, turning from the sunlight with his large sword, ready to respond. He calmly responded, looking at the many broken bamboo poles scattered across the floor from his training. The servant gasped in shock, seeing the destroyed training area, wondering what had caused such a mess. Mugen stated that the current space was too narrow for his continued training. He announced his intention to use the much larger training ground from now on. With his large sword in hand, Mugen confidently moved towards the more spacious training area. Under a bright blue sky, the larger open training ground was revealed. Several warriors were already present at the large training ground, practicing their own forms. They looked up, their expressions turning serious and wary as they saw Mugen approach. Mugen's servant informed him that there were already people using the training ground. One of the warriors glared fiercely, clearly unhappy with the intrusion. The servant nervously explained to the warriors that young Master Hua wished to use their training ground, which surprised them. The warriors were visibly agitated by the unexpected demand from Mugen. Mugen himself confirmed his request, stating that he needed to train alone and would be borrowing the large training ground for a while. He gestured, emphasizing that his training required a lot of space. One warrior scoffed, telling Mugen to use another nearby training ground and rudely calling him a half-dead corpse. He thought that merely swinging a sword, as Mugen did not qualify one as a true martial artist. He sneered that Mugen's blade was always clean, without a drop of blood, yet acknowledged the challenging look in Mugen's eyes. Other warrior protested, stating that it was unacceptable for the young master to suddenly demand the space from them. Suddenly, a stern-looking man, their commander, stepped forward, calling for everyone to move back. The commander, Chelboin, ordered his men to step aside, declaring that young Master Hua would train in martial arts. Chelboin, the Death Squad commander of the Manhwa clan, let out a frustrated sigh. He thought to himself that it seemed Mujin's peculiar madness had resurfaced once more. Chelboin then openly challenged Mujin, calling him dull talent, and questioning why he wouldn't stop. Chelboin's face, marked with scars, showed his intense anger. Mujin told him to state any complaints directly to his face. He added that only cowards bottle up their complaints, then asked Chelboin what he intended to do. A tense silence fell between them. Chelboin stared intensely at Mujin, a silent challenge in his eyes. Mujin calmly stated that if there were complaints among those who lived by the sword, then they must settle it with a fight. Chelboin looked at Mujin, clearly considering the implications of such a challenge. He then addressed young Master Hua, his tone measured. Chelboin asserted that even if times had changed, no warrior would draw a sword against the person destined to become the clan head. Mujin retorted with a saying, "A dog that bites doesn't bark, but a barking dog is full of fear." He told Chelboin to either step forward and act or remain silent like a scared dog with its tail tucked between its legs. Mujin took a firm, ready stance, challenging Chelboin to make his move. He gripped his sword hilt, a powerful blue energy emanating from it. The air around Mujin crackled with his rising power and determination. Chelboin drew his sword, striking at Mujin, warning him that regret would not help him now. Mujin swiftly parried Chelboin's attack, blocking the blade with his own. He met Chelboin's gaze with fierce, glowing eyes, ready for the fight. Mujin declared firmly that he was not the type of person who would ever feel regret. A journey starts from a shabby hut with someone heading east for 5 kilometers. The path continues for another 3 kilometers after turning at a large hawthorn tree. Leaves fall gently around a traditional building as the long journey nears its end. A carriage pulled by horses moves slowly towards its destination, stirring up dust. Finally, a man arrives at his destination, letting out a tired sigh of relief. He successfully brought along 2 sleeping children, making his difficult task much easier. Later, the man asks another person if they are truly not coming with him. The other person, an older man, insists he must stay behind to respectfully gather the remains of young Master Hua. He declares he will personally oversee young Master Hua's final journey, and then tells the first man to go on ahead and meet at a promised location. As he walks away, the man sighs deeply, unsure if this whole plan is the right thing to do. He continues walking, seemingly lost in thought about the difficult choices ahead. Suddenly, bright energy flashes, signaling the beginning of a fierce battle. 2 fighters clash in midair, surrounded by sparks of energy, showing off their powerful moves. Their weapons meet with incredible force, creating a bright explosion of power between them. One observer notes that Cheong Dobo is quite skilled for his age, but still considered a beginner. The battle rages on, with intense red and blue energy swirling around the fighters. Other powerful strike creates a bright, blinding light as their techniques collide once more. A group of onlookers watches with bated breath, their faces showing their complete surprise and worry. They wonder why the 2 fighters seem evenly matched, or even why young Master Hua appears to have the advantage. The group is surprised because they thought the second son of the Changhua Merchant Guild, a Kongdong sect disciple, would be more impressive. Chong Dobo grinds his teeth, clearly injured and frustrated by the unexpected turn of the fight. He cries out in pain as another sharp, energetic blow strikes him. Young Master Hua moves with swift grace, landing precise kicks and attacks. The onlookers shout in alarm, urging young Master Hua to dodge an incoming attack. Young Master Hua ignores their warnings and unleashes his powerful Peerless 9 Swords, first form, preemptive step. He executes a swift, powerful move, stepping in quickly to strike before his opponent can react. With a burst of force, he lands a direct hit, sending sparks flying from Chang Dobo's body. The impact of the strike reverberates, shaking Chang Dobo with its power. The observers are utterly shocked, their mouths agape at what they just witnessed. They are amazed, wondering how young Master Hua managed to block such a strong attack. Chiang Dobo looks stunned and pained as young Master Hua's attack pushes him back. He lets out a pained cry, struggling against young Master Hua's relentless assault. Young Master Hua lands another powerful blow, forcing Cheong Dobo to his knees. Cheong Dobo is thrown backwards, skidding across the ground, clearly losing control of the fight. Young Master Hua smirks confidently, while Cheong Dobo glares back, calling him a mad bastard. Blue energy radiates around young Master Hua as he prepares his next devastating move. He soars through the air, sword in hand, ready to strike down his opponent. Meanwhile, a worried observer notes that young Master Cheong is gathering all his inner energy for a final desperate attack. Other onlookers also realize the gravity of the situation, anticipating a powerful finishing blow. The people watching know that Cheong Dobo's next move must be his final all-out strike. However, young Master Hua mocks him, saying that even the gathering of his inner energy is too slow. Cheong Dobo's face shows pure shock and fear as young Master Hua's swiftness overwhelms him. Young Master Hua then unleashes the Peerless 9 Swords, second form, preparing a different kind of attack. He uses the weapon destruction technique, targeting Cheong Dobo's sword directly. He strikes Cheong Dobo's weapon with incredible force, causing it to shatter in midair. Powerful blue energy ripples through the air as the weapon breaks apart. Cheong Dobo watches in horror as his weapon crumbles, unable to defend himself. He screams in frustration, realizing he is completely helpless against young Master Hua's attacks. Young Master Hua continues his assault, showing no mercy to his defeated opponent. The broken fragments of Chang Dobo's weapons scatter around him, a clear sign of his loss. Young Master Hua lands another forceful blow, leaving Chang Dobo on the ground and vulnerable. Chang Dobo, now without his weapon, is furious, unable to believe he is losing to an energy-coreless bastard. His broken sword lies uselessly on the ground, a symbol of his utter defeat. Young Master Hua, eyes glowing red, prepares a final decisive strike. Cheong Dobo cries out in agony, collapsing to the ground from the brutal impact. Blood splatters around him as young Master Hua delivers a powerful finishing blow. Young Master Hua strikes him again with immense force, knocking him completely out. The red energy pulses with the lingering force of young Master Hua's attack. Cheong Dobo is sent flying, crashing onto the ground with a powerful impact. He lands hard, letting out a pained groan as he struggles to move. The swirling energies around them begin to fade as the battle concludes. Cheong Dobo struggles but cannot get up, clearly defeated and injured. His weapon shattered, he finally collapses defeated and lying on the ground. Cheong Dobo's companion screams his name in a mix of shock and horror. The other onlookers watch, breathing heavily, still processing the swift and brutal end to the duel. Young Master Hua stands over the defeated Cheong Dobo, who lies motionless on the ground. The observers whisper in disbelief, wondering if young Master Hua actually won. Young Master Hua then grabs Cheong Dobo's severed arm from the ground. He holds the arm firmly, a cold and decisive expression on his face. He announces that this arm is payment for the 17 years of grudge he holds. Cheong Dobo's companion is horrified, unable to believe what she is hearing. Young Master Hua tells them that since it's the Chenghua Merchant Guild, they might be able to reattach the arm. He turns and walks away, leaving Cheong Dobo and his horrified companion behind. His footsteps echo as he leaves the site of his victory. The fallen Cheong Dobo lies broken on the ground, his body gravely injured. A man approaches Cheong Dobo, saddened to see his defeated state. He sadly confirms that Cheong Dobo's energy core is also shattered, a permanent injury. Cheong Dobo's companion confronts young Master Hua, asking if he truly needed to go so far. Young Master Hua scoffs, stating there was a clear difference in their skill. He then declares that their conflict was decided long ago, and he has more to say about it. Young Master Hua angrily reveals that the grudge dates back 17 years, to an attack on a 5-year-old child who knew no martial arts. With glowing red eyes, he warns them that from now on they will pay the full price for provoking the Flame Hua clan. He coldly tells them to prepare themselves well for what is to come. He walks away from the scene, leaving behind a terrified companion. The companion falls to her knees, clutching her fist in despair. She cries out young Master Hua's name, Hua Mujin, overwhelmed with grief and fear. The sky above is bright and clear, but the mood below is heavy. The other onlookers are still in shock, amazed by the display of power. They talk amongst themselves, discussing the incredible fight they just witnessed. The group is stunned, processing how quickly young Master Hua defeated his opponent. They realize that young Master Hua crushed an outer sect disciple in just a few moves. They are equally amazed by the sword art he used, something they had never seen before. The onlookers understand that a new martial master has truly been born today. They call out to young Master Hua, some cheering, some still in disbelief. Young Master Hua calmly tells them to head back, ending the dramatic event. Chief Steward Du, now by young Master Hua's side, responds with a hesitant yes. Young Master Hua walks confidently away, his broad back showing his new strength and authority. Chief Steward Du looks at young Master Hua, wondering if his back was always so broad and imposing. He then awkwardly asks young Master Hua about that matter, referring to their plan. He secretly worries if young Master Hua already knew about their plan to run away. Young Master Hua then clears his throat and asks about the gold he entrusted to the steward. Young Master Hua smiles, asking if all the gold has been spent, though a little is left. He chuckles, telling Chief Steward Du that he'll have to visit the Bangho sect again soon because of some money issues. He casually remarks that meat has been quite tough these days, before mentioning one more thing to the steward. He then brings up Elder Zhou and the other warriors, their fate weighing on his mind. Young Master Hua states that he doesn't care if they choose to leave the clan. However, he warns that if they ever try to separate him from his 2 younger siblings, there will be dire consequences. He states with a dark expression that anyone attempting to harm his siblings will have to wager their own lives. He finishes his stern warning, leaving no doubt about his resolve. The scene shifts, showing a peaceful morning sky. A beautiful sunrise illuminates the mountains, seemingly a new day for everyone. Elsewhere, Chief Steward Du is being loudly scolded by the 2 children for missing their brother's duel. He tries to calm them, asking to read a message from a messenger pigeon. He opens the message, and his expression turns grim as he reads the contents. He drops the paper, muttering, "Oh dear," realizing they are in serious trouble. The message clearly states that young Master Hua discovered their escape plan, and they must return immediately. Someone gave directions to a shabby hut, telling the listener to head 10 li east. They were instructed to then turn west for 6 li when they found the hawthorn tree. Following the detailed instructions, a man arrived at a quiet building nestled among trees. He took a moment to stop and observe the beautiful cherry blossoms nearby. The man, looking tired but relieved, mentioned he had finally made it. He felt lucky that the 2 children he brought were already asleep, which made his job easier. Have. Another man asked if he truly wasn't coming along, reminding him that the body of young Master Hua, his blood relation, needed someone to be present. The man with the beard firmly stated that he would personally see young Master Hua through his final journey. The other man agreed, saying they would go on ahead and meet at the agreed spot. Looking up at the sky, the man wondered if what they were doing was the right thing after all. The story begins its new chapter with a bold title. Suddenly, a fierce fight erupted with powerful energy and sounds of clashing. Two fighters moved with great speed and skill, their swords glowing with power. One of the fighters, Chengdobo, was skilled for his age, but he still seemed like a beginner in this intense battle. The two warriors continued to exchange quick and strong blows, their movements sharp and precise. The fight was a blur of motion, with one fighter launching a strong attack that sent the other reeling back. Both fighters soared through the air, their swords meeting in a clash of bright light and fierce energy. People watching the fight were surprised, wondering why young Master Hua's strength seemed equal or even better than his opponent's. The battle was very fast, with both fighters moving quickly and striking hard, showing their impressive skills. Someone remarked that Cheongdobo, who was the second son of a merchant guild and a branch disciple of a martial arts school, wasn't as remarkable as they thought. Chengdobo yelled out in pain as he struggled against his opponent. Young Master Hua moved with incredible speed, striking his opponent with his powerful sword. Chengdobo tried to dodge, but young Master Hua's attack was too fast and strong. The onlookers cried out in worry for young Master Hua and urged Cheongdobo to dodge. Young Master Hua unleashed his special move, the Solitary Nine Swords First Form. Total Annihilation form. He struck with incredible force, aiming a powerful blow at his opponent. The sword strike connected, sending a shockwave through the air as young Master Hua pushed his attack forward. The crowd watched in utter shock, their faces showing disbelief at the unfolding events. They were stunned that Cheongdobo had somehow managed to block such a powerful attack. But young Master Hua quickly followed up with a series of precise and rapid sword strikes. Each strike landed with a sharp cutting sound, showing his impressive speed and skill. Cheongdobo took a hit to his side, blood splattering as he staggered from the impact. He was sent flying backwards, landing heavily on the ground after young Master Hua's forceful blow. Young Master Hua smiled knowingly at his opponent, while Cheongdobo grimaced in pain. Cheongdobo was furious, cursing his opponent as he prepared to fight back. He quickly gathered his energy, preparing a counterattack with his glowing sword. Cheongdobo began to channel all his strength into one powerful strike, ready for his finishing move. The onlookers watched intently, with one man looking concerned and the other covering his mouth in anticipation. They recognized this was Cheongdobo's final desperate blow, and a young man in the crowd looked worried. Young Master Hua saw that Cheongdobo's move was too slow. Even his power gathering was sluggish. Chengdobo gasped, his face showing the strain and pain as he struggled to unleash his attack. Young Master Hua then moved on to the Solitary Nine Swords second form, breaking form. This new form allowed him to break through his opponent's defenses with ease. He quickly moved above Chengdobo, striking down with incredible speed and precision. Young Master Hua delivered multiple swift and sharp blows, overwhelming his opponent. Each strike echoed loudly, showing the force behind his lightning-fast movements. Chengdobo felt completely powerless as young Master Hua's relentless attacks continued. He realized he was facing total defeat, his body unable to keep up with the onslaught. Young Master Hua's sword shattered Cheongdobo's weapon with powerful, swift strikes. With a fierce grin, young Master Hua delivered a final, devastating blow to his helpless opponent. Chengdobo was utterly defeated, unable to believe he lost to someone he considered a fool. His broken sword lay uselessly on the ground, a clear sign of his defeat. Young Master Hua looked down with glowing red eyes, his face showing a fierce determination as he finished the fight. Cheongdobo stared in shock and horror as his defeat became complete. He struggled to stand, but the blow was too powerful, sending him crashing down. Chengdobo screamed in agony as he was struck once more. He was hit hard, the impact leaving him severely injured. Young Master Hua stood over his opponent, delivering a powerful kick that sent him flying. Chengdobo cried out again as he was flung through the air, defeated. He landed with a harsh thud, showing the brutal force of the last attack. Young Master Hua looked down, ready to deliver his final act. He stepped forward, leaving his injured opponent lying on the ground. The woman in the crowd screamed out Cheongdobo's name, her face filled with despair. The other onlookers watched with wide eyes and gasps of shock. They wondered if young Master Hua had truly won the fight. Chengdobo lay on the ground, defeated, with his broken sword beside him. Young Master Hua grabbed Chengdobo's arm with a firm grip. He held Chengdobo up by his arm, his grip causing pain. Young Master Hua declared that he was taking Chengdobo's arm as payment for a 17-year-old grudge. The woman cried out, asking what he meant, and then questioned why he didn't seek honor instead of turning this into a gamble. Young Master Hua held his bleeding arm, looking resolved despite his injuries. He then delivered another swift kick. The kick landed with a strong impact, showing his continuing resolve. The other man tried to stop him, but young Master Hua was too quick. Cheongdobo lay there, his inner energy core, the Dantian, completely shattered. Someone observed that young Master Hua had shattered Cheongdobo's Dantian, leaving him powerless. The man with the sword asked if it was truly necessary to go that far, but young Master Hua simply shrugged, asking what of it. Young Master Hua stated that the match was already decided because there was a clear difference in their skills. The woman countered, asking if it was also necessary to hit a 5-year-old child who knew nothing of martial arts with a 7-injury fist. Young Master Hua declared that this was simply settling a grudge from 17 years ago, and for provoking the Yomhwa clan, they would now pay the price. He warned them all to be prepared for what was coming. Young Master Hua then walked away from the scene, leaving the defeated behind. The woman fell to her knees, looking completely distraught by the events. She stared at young Master Hua's disappearing figure, filled with despair. With tears streaming down her face, she vowed to never forget what he had done. The other onlookers gasped in amazement at young Master Hua's incredible strength. They couldn't believe the power he displayed. They watched as young Master Hua stood tall, having effortlessly defeated his opponent. The crowd was astonished by his swift and decisive victory. They praised him for defeating a branch disciple of the Gongdong school so quickly with a unique sword technique. Young Master Hua stood victorious, his power evident. His attendant called out to young Master Hua, who stood proudly with his massive sword. The attendant then told young Master Hua that it was time to return. The steward agreed, looking a little surprised by young Master Hua's presence. Young Master Hua walked away, his imposing figure carrying the large sword over his shoulder. The steward, watching him leave, wondered if young Master Hua's back had always looked so broad and powerful. Young Master Hua then called the head steward Du, wanting to talk about that. The steward nervously asked if young Master Hua meant their escape plan, but young Master Hua corrected him, laughing that he meant the gold entrusted to the steward. He smiled slyly, asking if the steward had already spent all the money. The steward quickly replied that of course not, but admitted there was only a little left. Young Master Hua commented that he would need to visit the loan syndicate again, and also mentioned that the meat had been tough lately. He then brought up another important matter regarding Elder Zhou and the warriors. Young Master Hua declared that he would not stop anyone who wished to leave the clan, but he warned that if anyone tried to separate him from his 2 younger siblings, there would be serious consequences. He ended his warning with a chilling threat. They would have to be ready to stake their lives. His words hung in the air, a clear and severe warning. Later, a messenger pigeon flew across the sky at sunset. The pigeon landed, carrying an urgent message. The man from earlier, holding a child, read the message, upset that this happened on the day of his brother's duel, stating it couldn't be forgiven. He then cried out in shock, holding the child close as he realized the bad news, that they were doomed as the message fell to the ground. The note revealed that young Master Hua had won the duel and their escape plan had been discovered, ordering them to return immediately. A few days earlier, people heard about a Taoist who claimed to be a successor of the Wudong lineage. This Taoist was famous for a special martial art that could heal sickness with spiritual energy, and he even treated the young master. Everyone thought he was real because the head steward paid a very high price to bring him there. The Taoist, Wu Dang Baekson, smiled kindly and invited the young master and his companions inside. The young master and an old steward walked into the building ready to meet the famous healer. A person in red robes followed closely behind them, observing the situation. The young master then directly asked the old Taoist if he truly came from Wudang. The old man, who introduced himself as Baekson, seemed a little embarrassed but confirmed his claim. He stated he was the only Taoist to truly inherit Wudang's teachings, calling himself Wudang Baekson. Suddenly, a powerful aura appeared. The young master looked at him with a suspicious and angry expression, repeating Baekson's name as if testing him. He found it strange, saying he had never heard of anyone surviving from Mount Wudang's lineage, and urged Baekson to tell the truth. The young master warned Baekson that if he kept lying, there would be no turning back. Baekson tried to argue, asking if the young master doubted him, especially after he had healed him. But the young master quickly drew his sword. The young master said he would only believe him if he could easily dodge his sword, a simple task for a true Wudang Taoist. He quickly lunged, striking Baekson, who fell backward in shock and pain. Baekson cried out loudly as the sword hit him, confirming he was not a skilled martial artist. Others in the room yelled for the young master to stop, but he ignored them, calmly ordering a servant. He told his servant, Masok, to be quiet and fetch a bucket of water, because he wanted to show everyone something interesting. The servant quickly brought the water, which the young master then splashed down. The young master poured the entire bucket of water over Baekson, drenching him completely. Baekson spluttered and protested, asking why the Yomhwa clan was repaying his kindness this way. The young master then grabbed Baekson's long white beard with a firm grip. With a swift pull, he easily detached the beard from Baekson's chin. The onlookers gasped in confusion and surprise as Baekson cried out in pain. Everyone realized that the Taoist's impressive beard was actually fake. The young master smirked, exposing the Taoist as a fraud, saying he had glued it on so carefully. Chapter title card, no narration needed. The scene shifted to a quieter moment inside the clan's grand hall. Clan members were furious, yelling at the fake Taoist for daring to scam a martial clan. They all felt completely fooled, and asked the young master what he planned to do with Baeksin. The young master's eyes glowed red as he suggested cutting off Baeksin's limbs, or even more severely, his arm or his manhood. Baeksin, now terrified, begged for mercy and pleaded with the young master to spare him. The young master smiled cruelly, saying he wouldn't kill him because he still needed to get his money back. He just wanted to slice a few parts off. Baeksin desperately begged to keep his limbs and promised to return every single coin he had taken. The young master said returning the money was a given, but he also demanded extra compensation for Baeksin's cheap limbs and worthless manhood. He then turned to the head steward, asking how much this con artist had stolen from him. A steward nervously replied that it was 50 nyang in gold, a sum the young master found quite large, calling the steward naive for getting conned. The young master then mocked the steward about his age, but the steward tried to explain that Baeksin had seemed very convincing. The young master angrily cut him off, refusing to hear another word. He told Baeksin that they would start with the 50 yang in gold. Baeksin admitted he didn't have the money with him and offered to lead them to his residence in Jumyang, which was about 2 hours away. The young master agreed and told him to lead the way. One of the other clan members offered to accompany the young master, worried about him going alone. The young master sharply refused, telling him to stay home and stop talking nonsense, as he was in no state to follow and might even end up as a corpse to clean up. He then sharply told the con artist to move, leaving his stunned clan members behind. The remaining clan members tried to calm each other down, still shaken by the young master's cold demeanor. One of them looked at the young master's retreating figure. He commented sadly that the young master was no longer the person they once knew. The young master and Baeksin walked away from the clan's residence. The young master grumbled that he should have borrowed a horse, wondering if the household had no beasts left. Baeksin then revealed that he had arrived in a carriage. The young master scoffed, telling Baeksin to get into the carriage, noting that he must have scammed a lot to afford such luxury. A grand carriage pulled by 4 horses stood ready, showcasing Baeksin's lavish lifestyle built on lies. The young master observed that a 4-horse carriage was a rare sight in that area. He remarked on the extravagance with a subtle expression of surprise. Inside, the young master commented on how lavish the carriage was. He noticed the cotton stuffing and leather finish, assuming that traveling merchants like Baeksin spent a lot of time on the road. He then criticized Baeksin for putting such effort into his fake professional dedication instead of honest work. Baeksin quickly agreed, promising to do honest work from now on. The young master decided to close his eyes and rest, asking to be woken when they arrived. Baeksin responded, telling him to rest well, but a sinister glint appeared in his eyes. As the young master fell asleep, Baeksin stared at him with a look full of dark intent. Baeksin internally vowed revenge, then ordered the carriage to move. The carriage began its long journey through a scenic but remote landscape. It traveled along a winding road, surrounded by mountains and trees, deep into the countryside. The grand carriage continued its trek, moving further away from the city. The wheels turned steadily as they journeyed, carrying them deeper into the hidden area. When the carriage stopped, Baeksin stepped out and greeted someone, saying they had been waiting. He pointed to the carriage, telling his accomplice that the young master was inside, fast asleep. Baeksin ordered them to drag the young master out and teach him a lesson, to which the accomplice seemed to ask, again? A large, muscular man confronted the young master, asking why he kept interfering with the Dao brothers' mission to save the masses. He declared that this brutal attack was the consequence of the young master's foolish meddling. The large man towered over the young master, who lay unconscious on the ground, ready to strike a powerful blow. He raised his fist, blaming the young master for his own fate, as a bright light surrounded the young master. Suddenly, a bright flash of light and sparks erupted as the attack was blocked. The large man stared in shock, completely surprised by what just happened. He looked down at his arm, seeing a strange metal contraption, wondering what it was. The young master, now awake and effortlessly breaking free from his bindings, calmly asked if they had already arrived. He easily blocked the large man's powerful punch with a single arm. The large man grunted in pain and surprise, unable to land his attack. With a powerful move, the young master pushed the large man away, sending him flying backward. Baeksin watched in utter horror and disbelief as his plan fell apart. The large man, now surprised, recognized the young master's incredible strength. Realizing the rumors about the sleeping dragons of Sochang were true, the young master looked around, observing his surroundings and questioning when Jae-young became such a remote forest. He quickly realized that he was the true target from the start. Understanding that Baeksin was more than just a simple scammer, his small smile appeared on the young master's face as he admitted he had been getting bored anyway. His body began to glow with intense power, ready for battle. He smiled, eager to test his skills and see if he was still in good fighting shape. Once, a legendary story of a great clan was painted, showing a powerful leader with a red flag, hinting at a glorious past. This story was about the Yeomwa clan, which had a time of great power and respect, all because of an amazing man called Yeomye. Many skilled fighters admired Yeomje and joined him, filling the training grounds and making the clan incredibly strong. Even the famous Tang clan from Sichuan greatly respected Yeomje for his good nature and incredible fighting skills. During that time, people shared drinks and celebrated, showing the strong bonds and success of the growing Yeomwa clan. In just one generation, the Yeomwa clan became a martial family that everyone knew and respected. Even powerful masters dared not challenge their warriors. The people in Xicheng City loved the Yeomwa clan, cheering excitedly every time its members walked through the streets. But then, Everything changed after the great Yomji passed away, and a new leader stepped forward, surrounded by intense energy. When the new clan head took over, his weaknesses quickly became clear, and the once proud Manhwa clan slowly started to fall apart. As the clan declined, even the people who had promised to be loyal began to leave, turning their backs one by one. The memory of Yomche, who once commanded respect from everyone, now felt like a flickering candle in the dark. People remembered Yomche as a kind hero to his allies, but a fearsome master to his enemies, showing his vast power. He truly was a hero for all time, a figure whose legend burned bright in the memories of those who knew him. Someone then started to wonder why they kept seeing the image of the great Yomje in their mind. He questioned why Yomje's strong image overlapped with young Master Hua's retreating back, when suddenly he heard someone urgently calling for the head steward. The head steward quickly turned, his eyes wide with surprise, as he saw someone falling and others rushing in a panic. The head steward questioned the arriving men, asking why only they were there and where the young master and young lady were, learning they had been ambushed by assassins from the Chenghua Merchant Guild. The men explained that Elder Zhou and the other warriors were fighting hard, but there were far too many assassins for them to handle. Hearing this, the head steward's face showed deep worry as he realized both the young lord and the young lady were in terrible danger. He immediately gave an order for someone to tell young Master Hua and then declared he would rush ahead to help, prompting a quick, "Yes, sir," from his subordinate. Without another moment to lose, the head steward moved with incredible speed, a blur of motion as he dashed towards the battle to protect the young ones. People on the street watched in shock, noticing blood and wondering who the mysterious figure was. They recognized him as the madman of the Manhwa clan and questioned if his madness had finally ended. However, seeing him walk down the main street covered in blood, everyone realized his condition seemed to have worsened. His presence now struck fear into those who once mocked him. The onlookers were stunned, questioning if he had truly defeated all those fierce men from the lone syndicate by himself. They couldn't believe such vicious guys were taken down. The whispers confirmed it, as people also heard he had severely beaten the second son of the Chenghua Merchant Guild. This man was Hua Mujin, known to many as the Mad Young Master. Some found it strange, remembering that when he was young, even masters from Shaolin called him a martial arts genius. They wondered if this was the return of that legendary talent. From that day forward, Hua Mujin, still covered in the remnants of his battle, began to be known as the Sleeping Dragon of Sochang. The story continued, showing Hua Mujin, the young master, arriving back at the clan's residence. He calmly walked through the halls, his footsteps firm and purposeful. A young servant rushed towards him, overjoyed and calling out to the young master. The servant expressed immense relief that Hua Mujin had returned safely and on his own 2 feet, asking if he was uninjured. Hua Mujin confirmed he was fine, but immediately asked about the others. The servant explained that everyone was in the infirmary, with not a single person left unharmed. He added that the second young master and Lady Soyan were also there to calm their minds. Hua Mujin praised the servant, Masak, and instructed him to prepare a bath. Masak quickly acknowledged the order and hurried to fulfill it. As night fell over the grand estate, Hua Mujin prepared to cleanse himself after the day's events. He took a bath, the warm water and candlelight providing a moment of peace and reflection. While bathing, Hua Mujin thought about the fear and anger he had seen in the children. He pondered over the idea of calming their minds and bodies, a task he felt was essential for them. He considered it unbecoming for children of a martial family to be so easily shaken, yet he understood their fear. He wished he could shield them from the world's harsh realities, wanting them to only experience goodness. He then wondered if he was seeing them in these children. Hua Mujin held a glowing object, inside which he saw an image of a man embracing 2 children, revealing his deep desire to protect them and continue his family's legacy. His eyes narrowed with intense determination, reflecting his resolve to protect those he cared for. He poured water over his hands, a gesture of renewal and commitment to his path. After his bath, Hua Mujin looked out at the moonlit sky, his expression serene but still thoughtful. The next day, the scene shifted to the infirmary, where Hua Mujin made a significant request. He asked for the secret record of the Red Shadow Arts, surprising the elder. He asked if his request was unreasonable. Elder Zhou, looking worried with bandages on, questioned Hua Mujin about his reason for wanting the secret record. Hua Mujin sarcastically asked if the elder feared he would have another mad fit and destroy the precious record. The elder quickly denied this, but pointed out that Hua Mujin was unable to teach the secret techniques himself. Hua Mujin then declared that he would train the 2 children personally, starting tomorrow, and noted the elder's unconvinced expression. Elder Zhou insisted he wasn't unconvinced, and Hua Mujin reassured him that his worries would not come to pass. Understanding, the elder then presented Hua Mujin with the tightly bound secret record. Hua Mujin told the elder to get some rest, and then left the infirmary, with the elder watching him depart. The elder sighed, still doubtful, but another person quickly reassured him, reminding him of the young master's powerful swordsmanship. This person also mentioned they recovered quickly thanks to the treatment. He noted that Hua Mujin's seizures had recently stopped, showing clear improvement, and believed the Taoist treatment had been remarkably effective. They pondered if the treatment somehow enhanced his martial arts, admitting they had never heard of such a unique method before. They concluded that the immense improvement in his martial arts was completely unexplainable, unless he had some sort of extraordinary lucky encounter. For him to have enhanced his martial prowess so significantly in such a short time, they believed he must have met and connected with a truly great master. Elder Joe reflected that the darkness which had shadowed the Yomwa clan for 17 long years finally seemed to be lifting. At the Yomwa clan's training ground, Hua Mujin began teaching 2 children, starting with the principle, "If you float like a butterfly," he continued, "then you must sting like a bee." The young boy, struggling to understand, asked his brother what it meant. Hua Mujin explained that it meant keeping the enemy's feet firmly planted, as if frozen to the ground, while keeping your own movements light and free. He proudly stated that this basic footwork was something he had created from his countless real-life battle experiences. The girl, however, blurted out that Elder Joe said Hua Mujin had almost no battle experience, causing the boy to try and shush her as Hua Mujin looked surprised. Hua Mujin cleared his throat and declared that enough explanation had been given, and it was time to practice. He instructed both children to attack him with the fist forms they knew. With eager shouts, the 2 children prepared to launch their attack on their brother. The girl charged forward with a determined yell, ready to strike. Hua Mujin observed their incoming attacks with a puzzled expression. He was bewildered, wondering what exactly these 2 children were trying to do. He watched their pathetic flailing, questioning if they truly possessed the bloodline of a martial arts family. The children continued their clumsy attempts, prompting Hua Mujin to consider if they were simply too young. He noted that their fists showed no understanding of using their lower body as an axis, nor did they grasp basic body mechanics. Hua Mujin was taken aback by their complete lack of skill, watching them flail about without any proper form. His head suddenly began to spin, forcing him to call an end to the training for the day. He wondered if he was truly okay. The children asked if he was all right, and Hua Mujin internally admitted that their level was far more amazing than he had anticipated. He concluded that their bodies weren't yet ready for powerful martial arts, so he would need to begin with simple physical training. He sent them inside, promising to see them at dinner. The children walked away, leaving Hua Mujin alone on the training ground, lost in thought. Hua Mujin realized this teaching task would be much tougher than he imagined. Then his thoughts turned to his late master. He expressed his deep sorrow and apologized to his master that their school's lineage had seemingly ended with his generation. No narration needed for a black image. Hua Mujin, with a determined gaze, vowed to finish the one thing he couldn't accomplish in his previous life. He gripped his sword, declaring his intention to find and confront that bastard, the master of the Sword of No Traces. His eyes burned with fierce resolve as he swore he would kill that individual. A close-up of his eye revealed his unwavering and deadly determination. He diligently practiced his sword forms, noting that he could now easily lift his sword with just one hand. As he moved, he could feel the energy of the atmosphere around him, sensing his growing power. With each swing, a vibrant aura of power radiated from him, showing his mastery. He realized that with every repetition of a sword form, his speed significantly increased. His sword glowed with potent red energy as he honed his skills with intense concentration. Indeed, his speed visibly surged with each perfect execution of his sword forms as he continued his solitary training. A few days later, Hua Mujin's training was complete for the time being. He returned to the clan's main courtyard, announcing his arrival to Elder Joe and another man, Tav. Elder Joe greeted him, acknowledging the great ordeal Hua Mujin had just endured. The other man dramatically recounted how much Hua Mujin suffered to protect the second young master and Lady Soyan, emphasizing the severity of the situation. Hua Mujin, with a stern expression, warned them that if he had arrived even a moment later, they would all have been dead. He then sternly told them that if they ever pulled such a dangerous stunt again, he would personally ensure their demise. The 2 men, now healed and remorseful, apologized and understood. Hua Mujin noted the clear improvement in his condition, and the Taoist who was present proudly boasted that he was the only one capable of curing the young master. The Taoist, Du Yongsu, confidently stated that just a few more treatment sessions would completely cure Hua Mujin. Suddenly, a young servant rudely yelled at the Taoist, mistaking him for a beggar and telling him to leave, completely unaware of his identity. Another servant quickly scolded the young man, explaining that this was the very Taoist who had treated their young master. The young servant, horrified, apologized profusely, citing the young master's incomplete recovery as an excuse for his outburst. With a serious expression, Hua Mujin ordered everyone to move aside. Hua Mujin then changed his tone, smiling apologetically to the Taoist for not recognizing him and for the rudeness of his servant. With a slightly chilling but polite smile, Hua Mujin invited the Taoist inside, suggesting he must be hungry after his long journey. A few days earlier, a Taoist came claiming to be the last person of the Wudang lineage. He was known for a special martial art that could heal sickness with spiritual power, and even treated the young master. The head steward paid a lot of money to bring him there. The Taoist smiles, greeting the young master, and invites him inside. The young master and an older man politely walk into the building. The young master steps through the doors, ready to meet the supposed Taoist. Inside, the young master asks the Taoist if he truly inherited Wudang's teachings. The old Taoist, looking humble, confirms that he did. He proudly states he is Wudang Baeksan, the only one who truly learned Wudang's ways. The young master looks at him with a sly smile, repeating the name Wudang Baeksun with a hint of disbelief. He explains that he has never heard of anyone surviving from Mount Wudang's lineage, making the Taoist nervous. The young master warns the Taoist that if he keeps lying, he won't be able to turn back from his deception. The Taoist starts to argue, but the young master quickly pulls out a long sword. The young master challenges the Taoist, saying that if he is truly from Wudang, dodging the sword should be easy. With a swift movement, the young master strikes, and the Taoist falls backward in shock. The Taoist screams loudly as the sword stabs into the ground right next to him. Others present are surprised and yell at the young master to stop his actions. The young master ignores them and asks Masak to bring a bucket of water, promising to show them something interesting. Masak quickly brings the water, which splashes onto the ground. The young master lifts the bucket and splashes the water directly onto the Taoist. The Taoist, wet and angry, demands to know why the clan is treating him this way after his kindness. The young master quickly grabs the Taoist's long, white beard. With a sharp tug, the young master pulls the beard clean off the Taoist's face. The onlookers are confused, and the Taoist cries out in pain and surprise. They all stare in disbelief as they realize the Taoist's beard was fake all along. The young master smiles, now sure, and calls the Taoist a fraud. The story shifts to the deeper consequences of the Taoist's deception. The scene shows the building where the deception took place. Now quiet. Someone shouts, amazed at the Taoist's boldness in trying to scam a powerful martial arts clan. Other asks the young master what he plans to do with the captured trickster. The young master, with a dangerous glint in his eyes, calmly suggests cutting off the Taoist's limbs or even his manhood. The Taoist, terrified, begs for mercy and asks to be spared. The young master reassures him he won't kill him, but warns he will still cut off a few parts to get his money back. The Taoist desperately promises to return every coin he took if he can keep his limbs. The young master scoffs, saying that returning the money is a given, and the Taoist will also pay extra for his cheap limbs and worthless manhood. He then asks the head steward how much gold this trickster managed to steal from him. The head steward replies that it was 50 yang in gold, and the young master criticizes him for being naive enough to be conned. The head steward tries to explain that the Taoist seemed very believable, but the young master cuts him off, not wanting to hear another word. The young master tells the Taoist that he heard him, and they will start by collecting the 15 yang in gold. The Taoist admits he doesn't have the money with him, but says it's at his residence in Gayum, which is 2 hours away. So the young master tells him to lead the way. One of the young master's followers offers to accompany him on the journey. The young master angrily tells him to stay home, calling him a con artist and saying he doesn't need help cleaning up a corpse. He then orders the con artists to move as he leaves the building. Someone tries to calm the situation, telling the young master to relax. Another person watches the young master walk away, thinking deeply about him. He reflects that the young master is no longer the person they once knew. The young master walks through the busy streets with the Taoist following behind him. He complains loudly about not being able to find a single horse in the household. The Taoist, still looking afraid, mentions that he came by carriage. The young master, with a smirk, orders him to get into the carriage. He comments that the Taoist must have cheated many people to afford such a grand 4-horse carriage. He remarks that a 4-horse carriage is a very rare and expensive sight in that area. The young master looks pleased, making a sarcastic comment. Inside the carriage, the young master observes the rich interior, noting how lavish it is. He notices the cotton stuffing and leather finish, guessing that traveling merchants like the Taoist spend a lot of time on the road. He criticizes the Taoist for putting so much effort into deceit instead of honest work. The Taoist quickly agrees to change his ways, and the young master announces he will close his eyes and wants to be woken when they arrive. The Taoist tells him to rest well, with a hidden angry look on his face. As the young master sleeps peacefully, the Taoist glares at him, clearly planning revenge. The Taoist whispers to himself, "Just wait, you bastard," then confidently says, "Let's go." The carriage travels through a long winding road, surrounded by mountains and mist. It moves further into the remote forested mountain area. As darkness falls, the carriage continues its journey deeper into the wilderness. The wheels of the carriage churn through the path, carrying its passengers further away. Finally, the Taoist steps out of the carriage as it stops. He is met by a large muscular man and confirms that the young master is still sound asleep inside. The Taoist instructs the big man to drag the young master out and teach him a lesson, as if this is a usual task. The big man grins, asking why the young master keeps getting in the way of their mission to help people. He declares that the young master's foolish meddling has brought this consequence upon himself. The big man easily lifts the seemingly sleeping young master from the carriage. He raises his fist, ready to strike, telling the young master that he has no one but himself to blame for what's about to happen. Suddenly, a bright flash of power erupts, stopping the big man's attack. The big man looks utterly shocked and confused by what just happened. He sees strange metal bindings appear on his hands and wonders what they are. The young master, now revealed to be wide awake, asks calmly if they have arrived already. With a swift, powerful motion, the young master punches the big man. The punch lands with incredible force, making the big man roar in pain. The impact sends the big man flying through the air, crashing hard towards the carriage. The Taoist watches, completely bewildered and horrified by this unexpected turn. He recognizes the large man as one of the sleeping dragons of Sochang, realizing the rumors about these powerful figures were true. He looks around, wondering when Guiyamyang became such a remote forest. realizing he's been led into a trap. The young master steps out of the carriage, revealing that the Taoist was his true target from the very beginning. He says he initially thought the Taoist was just a simple scammer, but is pleased to find out he has his own tricks, which makes things more interesting. As he was getting bored, a powerful red aura flares around the young master as he prepares for a real fight. He smiles, his eyes glowing red, eager to test his strength and see if he's still in good shape. Now, the man in dark robes, surrounded by a red aura, seemed pleased, thinking he was getting bored anyway and was ready for action. His form blurred with speed as he moved, leaving a trail of red energy behind him, ready to engage his opponents. He smiled, his eyes glowing red, eager to test his skills against those who dared to challenge him. A large, burly man with a beard shouted loudly, calling all his companions to come forth and face their foe. The bearded man confidently faced the protagonist, calling him a mere bookish fellow who was hastening his own death. He gripped his heavy axe tightly, preparing for a brutal fight, showing his readiness for combat. Another fierce warrior readied his heavy spiked club, joining his comrades in their stand. These strong fighters, known as Zhongshan's demons, stood together, full of fighting spirit, facing their new enemy. The protagonist looked at their faces, finding them quite ugly, and noted a strange demonic energy about them. He observed their various weapons, confirming that they truly wielded demonic energy. With a burst of speed and power, the protagonist launched himself forward, a whirlwind of force. The demons looked stunned and confused, caught off guard by his sudden, powerful move. The protagonist continued his swift attack, challenging them to show him what they had. He delivered a powerful kick infused with red energy aimed at one of the demons. The bearded demon widened his eyes in shock as the force of the kick hit him. He grunted in pain as the strong blow sent him flying backward. His companions watched, surprised by how easily their leader was overpowered. The protagonist moved like a blur, striking multiple enemies at once with incredible speed. One demon accused the protagonist of being cowardly for focusing on a single target, yet he struggled to land a hit himself. Other demon quickly rushed to help his leader, realizing the dire situation. The bearded man felt as if he was being crushed by a warhammer, reeling from the intense blows. The protagonist's eyes glowed, wondering about the sheer power he was unleashing. He continued his relentless assault, moving with deadly precision and speed. Another demon cried out as he took a painful hit from the protagonist. The protagonist fiercely engaged the bearded man again, showing superior strength and skill. He easily disarmed the demon, telling him that his abilities were nothing special. With powerful rapid strikes, the protagonist continued to overwhelm his opponent. A forceful blow landed, causing blood to spray as the demon was severely injured. The protagonist fought against all the demons at once, dominating the battlefield with his moves. One demon tried to retaliate with a desperate swing, but it was in vain. He was met with another harsh blow, letting out a pained cry. Another demon was visibly stunned by the protagonist's lightning-fast movements. He too was struck down, letting out a loud shout of pain. Two demons teamed up, attacking with their swords from both sides. However, one was quickly incapacitated by a swift counterattack. The protagonist's impact shattered the ground, showing the raw power behind his blows. He moved with fluid grace, knocking down several more of the Zhongshan demons. Other demon grimaced in agony as his weapon was broken by the hero's might. The demon's sword snapped into pieces, unable to withstand the immense force. The protagonist landed a powerful kick, breaking another demon's weapon and sending them flying. One of the remaining demons struggled to breathe, heavily impacted by the fight. He cried out loudly as he took yet another crushing hit, falling backward. The protagonist effortlessly sent another enemy spiraling through the air. Finally, the last demon fell, defeated and battered, leaving only the protagonist standing. The protagonist realized that these men had mastered demonic arts and wondered how such powers were found in the Central Plains. He felt a conflict within himself, not wanting to kill those who used demonic energy, despite their actions. As he paused, wondering what to do next, a voice suddenly shouted, "Wait!" The protagonist turned, curious about who had spoken and what they wanted. The bearded leader of the demons, defeated and on his knees, admitted their complete loss. He begged the protagonist to show them mercy and spare their lives. Another demon was shocked that the Zhongshan's demons had been defeated so easily, admitting they knew they were outmatched from the very first blows. The protagonist asked them why they had acted tough and fought if they already knew they couldn't win. He agreed to spare their lives, but only if they allowed him to destroy their cores and sever their meridians, stripping them of their martial arts. The bearded man looked utterly horrified at the thought of losing his power forever. He pleaded with the protagonist, explaining that they only fought because they were ordered to. The protagonist dismissed his pleas, demanding to know who their master was, the one who taught them these arts. He took a few steps closer, pressuring them to reveal the identity of their teacher. The bearded man seemed confused, so the protagonist made it clear he was asking about their master. The protagonist sensed that the energy they used, though strange, was indeed demonic, a rare power in these lands. The demon then revealed that their master was alive until the previous year, but shockingly, they never knew his name. The protagonist was surprised they didn't know their master's name, to which the demon explained that their master said true master-student bonds were not meant to last. The protagonist sharply told them they should have just stayed quiet and practiced their weak martial arts, instead of causing trouble. He then accused them of stealing, but they quickly denied it, saying they hadn't done anything like that. They claimed they were merely helping their brother's business, which made the protagonist question the true nature of this business and the brother. The old man among them added that their brother had told them it was a good deed to help people. The protagonist, tired of the excuses, told them to get lost and never work for that guy again, threatening death if he saw them involved again. The demons quickly thanked him and began to leave. Before they could escape, the protagonist demanded payment from the old man as compensation for his wasted stamina, their lives, and even his mental distress. The old man, clearly intimidated, quickly and repeatedly agreed to pay. As they departed, the demons remembered their master's teaching about being easily swayed and needing to be careful about their friends. They recalled their master's wisdom, which now seemed to guide their decision. Their master had also taught them that if they ever met someone strong and righteous, it would be wise to follow them and entrust their lives to them. All the defeated demons now looked at each other, nodding in agreement. It seemed everyone among the demons was now thinking the same thing about their powerful opponent. Back at his carriage, someone asked why they had stopped again, and what was causing the delay this time. The protagonist stepped out of his carriage to investigate the new commotion. To his surprise, the defeated demons were kneeling outside, calling him boss, and pledging their loyalty. They loudly declared their devotion to the Manhwa clan and humbly asked him to take them in. The protagonist looked annoyed, asking if they had lost their minds from the beating, and questioned why they were calling him boss. The demons insisted, explaining they were still young, not even 30 yet, and begged him to look after them as their new boss. The protagonist's face showed his utter shock at their unexpected revelation. He looked completely stunned and disbelieving, unable to process their words about his perceived age. The young master stands proudly, declaring that all debts owed by the Manhwa clan will be paid back right away. He continues, explaining that this payment is for the interest and for all the help the clan received. With a serious expression, he promises to free them from the control of the Manhwa Merchant Guild. This is chapter 17 of the story Rebirth of Divine Demon, marking a significant turning point in the young master's journey. The people listening are utterly stunned by the young master's bold declaration. One of them cautiously asks if the young master means he is willing to use force to help them. The young master confirms he will use force, which causes the people sitting at the table to jump up in shock. An elder scolds the young master, questioning if he understands who stands behind the Manhwa Merchant Guild. He reveals that the powerful Gongdong faction is backing the guild. The elder explains that the Gongdong is the strongest power in the entire martial world, yet the young master calmly asks who backs the Gongdong. Another elder nervously calls out to the young master, who then reassures Head Steward Do not to worry. Head Steward Do explains that once the debt is cleared, the guild cannot take any further action. He also adds that the clan would never foolishly challenge a power like the Gongdong directly. The young master sips his tea, as the others comment that his words alone are comforting and make them feel at ease. The young master simply watches them, a slight, knowing look in his eyes. He then announces his departure, wishing the clan strength and prosperity. As they walk, the young master mentions the Manhwa Merchant Guild again. He orders Head Steward Do to investigate the guild thoroughly, gathering all details about their operations and connections to the Gongdong, which deeply shocks the steward. The steward frantically asks if the young master truly meant his earlier words, but the young master calmly replies he was not joking. He explains that both gratitude and resentment must be handled completely, and if they leave the guild alone, the guild will eventually attack them. The young master emphasizes that it's a critical situation, a do-or-die moment for them. He argues that if all the clan's support for over a decade amounts to nothing, then the guild will no longer help them, so offering this much in return is only fair. The young master thinks that others might see his plan as reckless and crazy. He decides to wait and see what happens, just as Masok reports that the assigned tasks are finished. The young master praises their work and tells everyone to gather for introductions, pointing to the two elders, who are the clan's elder and head steward. The clan elder looks confused, asking who these new people are. The young master introduces the new recruits as warriors joining their clan, specifically the famous youths of Zhongshan. He proudly presents them as the Zhongshan Four Tigers. The Four Tigers express their eagerness to work, while the clan elders are left completely shocked by their presence. The young master tells them not to be too surprised just yet, hinting that there's more to come. He then reveals the real surprise. Every one of these strong warriors is actually younger than he is. The elders are left utterly speechless and stunned, unable to believe what they just heard. They react with extreme disbelief, exclaiming that it is simply impossible. Feeling hungry, the young master asks if they should get some meat, then wonders why everyone is so stunned, while one of the tigers says they are clearly shaken by their presence. One of the elders angrily questions how the young master could bring such warriors into the clan without discussing it with him. The young master responds by asking if the elder consulted him before sending their own boys out earlier. He firmly states that if he approves someone, they join, and if he doesn't, they are expelled. He reminds everyone that he is the next clan head and orders them not to forget it, then tells Masok to go buy a cow. Masok sadly informs the young master that they have no money left, reminding him that over 10,000 gold disappeared just moments ago. The young master listens intently, his expression unreadable. He then quickly dashes into a hidden room, revealing a huge pile of gold. Masok is shocked by the discovery, and the young master explains that the person who cheated them had quite a large stash hidden away. The steward cautiously asks if the young master killed him, but the young master clarifies that he acquired the fortune through fair means. The steward then points to a folding screen, and the young master explains he took it because it was a piece by the renowned artist Jang So-san. The others are amazed to hear the name Jang So-san. The young master adds that it was said to be worth 90 gold, so he took it without hesitation, and the steward confirms it looks genuine. The young master asks if that is enough money to buy a cow, and Masok happily confirms it is more than enough. The young master tells Masok to stop complaining and go buy the cow. The morning sun shines brightly over the clan's gate. The folding screen remains in the hidden room, glowing with a soft purple light. It is the next morning, a new day dawning over the mountains. In a large training area, many clan members stand, each with a large sack on the ground in front of them. The young master's two young companions wonder why they were all called so early in the morning. The young master explains that after recent events, he realized they desperately needed special training. He emphasizes that a strong body is the foundation for wielding a sword, and even the best sword art is useless with a weak body. Therefore, starting today, they will begin a special physical training program. He announces that he will personally be in charge of their training. He instructs them to pay close attention and not to fall behind. He points to the sacks at their feet, explaining that each contains 1 cm 144 kilograms of rice, which will be their constant training companion. He sternly warns them that the rice is not for eating, and anyone caught eating it will die, as there's always an idiot who tries. Some trainees notice that their sacks appear much smaller than a full cm, making them wonder what exactly is going on. One of the younger trainees points out his sack feels very light, while others wonder what they are supposed to do with these bags. The young master calmly tells them to lift the sacks onto their backs. The trainees look shocked, and one even points out that lifting such a heavy sack usually requires 2 people. The young master's eyes glow red as he fiercely tells them to shut up and lift, or they will face a beating. He warns them that his blade, though blunt, will not cut cleanly. However, he assures them that one powerful hit will shatter every bone in their bodies, then gives them a choice: lift the sacks or fight him. A muscular trainee struggles intensely, trying to hoist the heavy sack onto his back. Another trainee grunts from the effort, as the young master questions why the Zhongshan boys are acting embarrassed. He reminds them that they train in demonic arts and should not be ashamed of their strength. He each of them to carry 3 sacks and repeats his challenge. If they don't want to, they can spar with him. The trainees cry out in pain and struggle, barely able to move under the immense weight of the sacks. One man manages to hoist multiple sacks, groaning loudly from the incredible strain. The other trainees are amazed, asking what the young master is planning with this extreme training. The young master shouts encouragement, pleased to see them struggling but ultimately lifting the heavy burdens. He tells them that once they truly decide to lift it, they can, urging them to cast away any weak doubts. A female trainee strains under her heavy load as the young master reminds them that failure means death, so nothing in this world is truly impossible. Another trainee gasps from the effort as the young master loudly announces that they will begin with 200 squats. With a wide, fierce grin, the young master commands all of them to follow his lead. The trainees, now burdened with their heavy sacks, begin their squats, pushing themselves to their limits. A figure grunts and strains, deeply engaged in a strenuous training exercise. A man with a heavy rice sack on his back pushes upwards with all his might, his face full of effort. Another young man, also burdened by heavy sacks, is told to tighten his core and lift, pushing through the difficulty. Several people, young and old, struggle to move with multiple rice sacks strapped to them, being pushed to continue or face dire consequences. An older man stops, feeling a strange and intense sensation spread through his body. He describes the feeling as his entire body collapsing from his legs upwards, overwhelmed by the physical strain. He steels himself, vowing not to give up, fearing punishment from the young master if he fails. With a loud cry, he endures the pain, questioning the extreme methods of this training. Another older man observes the trainees, finding it exhausting just to watch the intense regimen. He worries if the young trainees who previously enjoyed a comfortable life can withstand such a harsh challenge, especially since they are already complaining. The stern young master declares that men who whimper from such little training are not worth keeping, as the grueling exercises continue. He warns them that any sign of weakness will lead to their death, pushing them to their absolute limits. The title of the story appears. A new day dawns over the mountains, but for the trainees, the struggle is far from over. As the sun sets, a man still grunts under the heavy load of the rice sack, showing the day-long intensity of their training. His face is covered in sweat, eyes closed in pain as he struggles to complete the exercise. He finally collapses after reaching 200 repetitions, the heavy sacks falling beside him. The young master, still carrying his own sack, comments sharply that they have only completed warm-ups. He declares that with such low stamina, martial arts are beyond their reach, and this particular training session is now over. However, he quickly adds a new condition, signaling that the challenge is far from complete. He commands them to become one with their rice sacks, meaning they must carry them at all times. They must eat, sleep, and even relieve themselves while wearing the sacks, with no end in sight. The young master states they will carry the sacks until he gives them permission to remove them, then calls out to Jungsan. Jungsan nervously agrees as the young master orders him to bind all the trainees with rope, warning that anyone who removes it will lose their lifespan. The young master walks away, leaving them with a chilling reminder of his strict rules. One of the older trainees, now bound to his sack, quietly thinks of his mother, showing his despair. The young master instructs Masak to ensure the children receive beef at every meal, a surprising change from their strict regimen. He then dismisses Masak, declining a bath and saying he will tell him what he wants later. Despite his tough demeanor, the young master himself collapses onto his bed, utterly exhausted. He lies flat on his bed, completely worn out after overseeing and participating in the intense training. Even in his sleep, the young master seems troubled, hinting at the burden he carries. Night settles over the clan's buildings, bringing a brief moment of quiet after the day's hard work. Inside the dining hall, all the trainees eat dinner, still bound to their rice sacks. Two men carefully try to eat their food, their heavy rice sacks making simple actions difficult. One man struggles to use chopsticks with the heavy sack on his back, finding it awkward and cumbersome. He asks his brother if he finds it strange that his hands are trembling despite only training their legs. His brother confirms he noticed the same odd sensation, finding it quite peculiar. Another man agrees, noting that even his previous master's training never caused such an effect. He looks troubled, deeply pondering the unique and intense nature of the young master's training. The next day, the arduous training continued with push-ups, the trainees still burdened by their heavy sacks. The young master shouts, 43, counting the repetitions and singling out a trainee for not performing correctly. He sternly questions the trainee's improper form, asking if he wishes to die. He reminds the struggling trainee that he still has 120 repetitions left and commands him to focus. An observer remarks that the trainees are like monsters for enduring such a harsh regimen. As the narration moves to the next day's challenge, the training evolves into a duck walk, where the trainees must crouch and waddle with their sacks, repeat "oh-ree" and "quack quack," much to the bewilderment of onlookers. A trainee yells "quack quack" with a frustrated expression, clearly at his wit's end. He wonders about the strange world he is in as the narration jumps to yet another day of training. The young master pushes them to go faster, warning that they will train all day if they do not comply. He threatens to add another sack to anyone slower than him, as he sets a blistering pace. A trainee cries out in exhaustion, struggling desperately to keep up with the relentless demands. The young master observes his trainees, noting with surprise that they are performing better than he expected. A small smirk plays on his lips, recognizing their unexpected resilience. He then considers if it's time to increase the difficulty of their training once more. The scene dramatically shifts to a powerful rushing river, crashing against large rocks. A trainee looks at the dangerous river in dismay, anticipating the young master's next formidable test. The young master confirms their fears, telling them they must be feeling hot and orders them to cross the frigid waters. The strong currents of the river are clearly visible, presenting a daunting and perilous crossing. An older man stares at the turbulent river, filled with apprehension and doubt. Beyond the river, a massive waterfall cascades down, adding another terrifying element to the challenge. Young Soyeon, innocent of the danger, joyfully exclaims at the sight of the waterfall, contrasting with the fear on another's face. The young master jokingly calls the river refreshing and then points out Soyeon's inability to swim. A worried boy asks if Soyeon should inform her brother, while an older man desperately warns that the current is too strong and the place is deadly. The older man explains that the river is notorious for claiming lives, even unburdened ones, but the young master dismisses his concerns, claiming he has personally tested the waters. The older men look confused and ask when the young master ever trained in such a perilous manner, casting doubt on his words. The young master gives them a stark choice: cross the dangerous river or duel him, urging them to choose wisely. A brave young boy, Jang Tae, declares he will go first and leaps into the churning river with his rice sack. Jang Tae splashes into the water, commencing his perilous journey across the river. Cheomuk, seeing Jang Tae take the plunge, anxiously asks his brother what they should do. His brother concludes that crossing the river offers a better chance of survival than fighting the young master, and he too jumps in with a shout. Realizing it's a do-or-die situation, all the trainees begin jumping into the treacherous waters. More individuals follow suit, plunging into the turbulent river, accepting their fate. Two men curse their misfortune while struggling in the water, as the young master coldly offers an escape to those who cannot continue. Another boy, full of resolve, confidently declares he is going ahead, seemingly unafraid of the danger. A different boy hesitates, realizing he cannot bring himself to admit defeat. He steels his resolve, reminding himself that he is a warrior of the Yeonhwa clan. The boy, young master Dojin, leaps into the powerful current with determination, his heavy rice sack still strapped to his back. He splashes into the water, confidently declaring that this challenge is nothing to him. The older men watch from the shore, shouting young Master Dojin's name with worry. They desperately warn him that if he falls in the river, he will surely die. Dojin fights the strong current, telling himself to keep moving his arms and legs without stopping. He pushes through the intense struggle, believing he can overcome this challenge. Despite the difficulty, Dojin maintains his focus, assuring himself that he can handle this much. He continues to battle the powerful waves, refusing to give in. With sheer willpower, he insists to himself that he can manage this too. Dojin is shown struggling underwater, the heavy rice sack dragging him down. As he sinks deeper, his determination remains unbroken, whispering that he can still do it. The warrior's eyes were wide with fear, reflecting the harsh conditions he endured. He was Hwa-Do-Jin, struggling to stay afloat in a powerful vortex, his heavy load making it even harder. Another warrior was sinking into the deep water, unable to fight against the strong current. Water raged around them, making survival seem impossible. Hwa-Do-Jin cried out, feeling completely overwhelmed by the churning water as he was swept away. From the shore, another warrior watched in shock as young master Hwa-Do-Jin was pulled further into the dangerous current. Hwa-Do-Jin desperately tried to keep his head above the waves, while the other warrior in the water screamed for help. Suddenly, a strong warrior, a big man, entered the raging water with a powerful splash. He declared he was going in to help, showing no fear as he plunged into the dangerous currents. The big warrior fought through the waves, determined to reach Hwa-Do-Jin. With a mighty effort, he grabbed Hwa-Do-Jin, announcing that he had him safely. And to breathe deeply, urging him to get his breath back after the scary ordeal. The warrior then instructed Hwa-Do-Jin to grip his arm tightly, saying they would charge straight through the dangerous waters together, since it was too late to escape. He prepared Hwa-Do-Jin for the next big move, telling him to get ready to face the waves. With a shout, he commanded Hwa-Do-Jin to act, and together they pushed through the last of the powerful current towards safety. They both screamed as the water tossed them around one last time before they reached the calmer edge. Other warriors on the shore watched with great worry, calling out to young master Hwa-Do-Jin as he fought the current. Finally, Hwa-Do-Jin's hand could be seen reaching the solid ground of the shore. The big warrior and Hwa-Do-Jin pulled themselves onto the rocky shore, both completely exhausted from their struggle against the water. Hwa-Do-Jin, still catching his breath, thanked the big warrior for saving him from the treacherous waters. The big warrior, wiping sweat from his brow, humbly said it was nothing, despite his own fatigue. Other warrior came over, asking Hwa-Do-Jin if he was all right and if he had any injuries. Hwa-Do-Jin replied that he was fine, thankfully saved by the warrior who had bravely helped him. The first warrior wondered how the young master had caught up so quickly and advised him not to push himself too hard, as getting hurt would make all their efforts meaningless. Hwa-Do-Jin listened quietly to the advice, understanding the seriousness of their training. He declared that they could not remain children forever and that he would stay with them until the very end. Hwa-Do-Jin spoke with determination, explaining that by enduring, he too could truly become a martial warrior. His words showed his strong resolve to grow and become a proper member of the Yeomhwa clan. The other warriors praised young master Hwa-Do-Jin for his spirit and dedication. Two older, respected men observed the scene, nodding in quiet approval of the young master's words. The training continued, moving to harsh mountain climbing, where mist clung to the steep cliffs. Warriors strained to ascend the rugged, rocky surfaces, each carrying a heavy load on their backs. A warrior's hand gripped a rough rock, showing the desperate effort needed to climb. One warrior was visibly struggling, his face full of pain as he clung to the cliff with a heavy package tied to him. Further below, another warrior also fought to keep his footing on the dangerous mountain path. The young master shouted, warning them that if they fell, there would be nothing left of them, urging them to climb with all their might. One warrior cursed under his breath, thinking the young master was a madman who had lost his mind. Another warrior regretted following, feeling like he shouldn't have come. Then his foot slipped. With a shocked gasp, the warrior lost his grip and began to fall down the cliff face. He screamed in terror as he plummeted, unable to stop his descent. His hands flailed, trying desperately to grab onto anything that might save him. The falling warrior cried out, confused and scared about what was happening. He pleaded for mercy, begging to be spared from the terrible fall. Another warrior above watched with wide, horrified eyes as his comrade fell. He was sharply told to stay awake and grab the rock in front of him, being called an idiot for losing focus. The grueling mountain training continued, with the daunting cliffs looming over them. The next day, under the bright sun, the warriors were ordered to run. The young master commanded them to run, pushing them even harder in their training. He warned them that if anyone fell behind, he would carry them himself and continue running. A small child watching asked his mother if these were death row prisoners, but she explained they were warriors of the Yeomhwa clan. Two young female warriors, burdened with heavy loads, looked absolutely exhausted from the intense running. Lady Soyeon, one of the female warriors, looked like she was about to collapse from fatigue. A warrior called out to Lady Soyeon with concern, seeing her struggle during the run. Another warrior, Elder Joe, turned his head, hearing the call for Lady Soyeon. Lady Soyeon, barely able to speak, asked Elder Joe to carry her quickly, showing her extreme exhaustion. Elder Joe looked taken aback by her request, likely surprised by her weakness. The other warriors, including children, also struggled with their heavy loads as the young master watched. The young master sternly told Lady Soyeon that if she intended to collapse, he wouldn't stop her. However, he warned her that she would have to pay a high price for it, and demanded to know why she wasn't running. Lady Soyeon, despite her struggle, pushed through her pain and continued to move forward. Later, inside, some warriors collapsed from exhaustion during night training, unable to keep going. One warrior lay stretched out on the floor, completely worn out from the relentless practice. Another warrior, still carrying his heavy load, looked down at the fallen comrade. He pointed out that the fallen warrior always lagged behind and never met his training goals. He questioned how long the warrior planned to continue being so weak and failing. The angry warrior snapped, asking asking when he would stop causing problems for others, and told him to quit if he couldn't handle the training. He told the struggling warrior not to bother everyone else, then threatened to kill him if he didn't listen. The struggling warrior was shocked, then admitted he didn't want to be a warrior and had wanted to quit for a long time. He expressed his deep desire to stop being a warrior, revealing his true feelings. The angry warrior scoffed, asking if he was too scared to tell the young master and if that's why he always collapsed like a dead body. He continued his harsh words, stating that the warrior was not suitable for a warrior's life. He then declared he would end the warrior's life right there, causing the struggling warrior to cry out in fear. The kind-hearted big warrior intervened, telling him to stop and reminding him that not everyone could be as strong as him. The angry warrior clenched his fist, showing his irritation at the interruption. He retorted that if someone couldn't live as a warrior, they shouldn't have started in the first place. Then he challenged the struggling warrior, telling him to stand up so he could fight and kill him first. The big warrior firmly told him to stop his aggressive behavior. He explained that the struggling warrior was also trying his best in his own way. He added that now that they were in the Yeomwa clan, they were all brothers and told the angry warrior to stop. But the angry warrior scoffed, questioning how such trash could be called brothers. He yelled, demanding to know how long they had to keep doing such foolish things, even after seeing their struggles with his own eyes. He challenged them, asking if they truly believed they could become strong this way, stating this was not what any of them wanted. The kind-hearted warrior calmly replied that the young master had trained much longer than them. He emphasized that their training was not meaningless, and told them to only speak such words after they had surpassed the young master. The angry warrior warned that if he was ever harmed again due to their weakness, he would deal with them. He threatened that they would die by his hand before they would die by the young masters. Later that night, the moon shone brightly in the sky, casting shadows over the training grounds. A warrior struggled out of bed, annoyed that the toilet was so far away from his room. As he walked through the quiet night, he heard a faint sound. He wondered who else could be awake at such a late hour. Looking around cautiously, he spotted a figure in the distance and wondered who it could be. Suddenly, the figure moved with incredible speed, a blur of motion across the ground. The warrior realized it was the young master and gasped in surprise at his unexpected presence and swift movement. A man was stunned, watching something unbelievable unfold before his eyes. He couldn't quite grasp the incredible sight. Someone struck the ground with immense force, causing a powerful impact. A bright red energy pulsed from the strike. The young master moved with a powerful, fast attack, looking intense. The man watching him was completely shocked. The young master's eyes glowed fiercely as he continued his powerful movements. His focus was sharp and intense. Bright, flowing energy danced around the young master as he moved. The light showed the grace of his actions. The young master jumped high, sword in hand, demonstrating incredible agility. His shadow stretched long on the ground below. The man realized it wasn't just speed. The young master's movements were also full of power. He was amazed by the display. He felt overwhelmed by the young master's graceful yet strong power. He couldn't believe someone their age could move like that. The young master's hair flowed as he moved with glowing energy around him. His determined face showed his skill. The man questioned how the young master could perform such amazing swordsmanship. He was left in awe. He looked up, still sweating and surprised by the young master's skill. He heard a soft whoosh as the young master landed. He wondered if this was the special talent of a martial genius. Suddenly, the young master made a strong strike on the ground. The young master then paused, looking around as if sensing someone nearby. His expression was calm but knowing. He told whoever was hiding to come out, or he would crush their head. A man carrying a large rice sack quickly identified himself as the young master's subordinate. The young master asked why he was just standing there. The man explained he was only returning from the restroom. He quickly added that he wasn't trying to spy, just passing by. The young master didn't mind, saying it was good timing, as he was bored. The man was surprised by the order. He looked at the young master, then at the heavy sack he was carrying. With a loud thump, the man dropped his rice sack to the ground. It landed heavily, shaking the area around it. The man then quickly grabbed a sword and got into a fighting stance. He looked ready, even with the heavy sack still tied to him. He looked serious, preparing himself for what was coming next. He was ready to face the young master. The young master simply told him to come at him. The man immediately launched a powerful attack, kicking off the ground. The young master effortlessly blocked the man's swift sword strike. Sparks flew as their weapons met. They moved quickly, clashing swords in a blur of motion. The sound of their fight echoed in the air. The man was struggling, his face showing the effort he put into each move. He knew he was being pushed to his limits. The young master watched him with a calm, discerning gaze. He observed the man's every move. The man lunged forward, trying to land a hit, but the young master easily dodged. He was very fast. The young master blocked another attack, feeling the strength of the man's strike. He knew the man couldn't beat him yet. The man felt a shock, realizing his sword felt different. He was sweating, noticing something was off. He tried another powerful swing, pushing all his strength into it. Energy swirled around his sword as he attacked. He wondered if the young master had always been this fast. He was amazed by the speed of the counterattack. The young master, with a swift movement, deflected the attack again. His precise actions showed great skill. The young master smiled, finding the man finally useful. He seemed pleased with the progress he saw. The man continued to fight, putting all his energy into his attacks. He tried his best to keep up. The young master then pointed out that the man was focusing too much on attacking the front. He hinted at a weakness. With a loud cry of pain, the man was hit and thrown back. The impact was powerful. He tumbled through the air before landing hard on the ground. The young master's hit sent him flying. The man slowly pushed himself up, his sword still in hand. He could feel the strong impact from the young master's strike. He gasped for breath, confirming that the young master's power was as expected. He was struggling but enduring. The young master noted the man's improvement, mentioning he used to be sent flying with just one hit. He was impressed by the change. He stated that the man's ability to take hits was finally getting good. He thought about how far he had come. The man looked at his bruised arm, realizing the hits were strong but not enough to stop him completely. He knew he had improved a lot. The young master declared that was enough for the day and they would stop training. He told the man to rest up and then left. The man watched the young master leave, still holding his sword. He couldn't believe how much stronger he had become. The next day, a new, even tougher training began. The young master introduced the next phase of their development. He told everyone to grab a rice sack and hang from a bar with it held between their legs. All the trainees started this difficult exercise, making loud grunts. The man, just like the others, grunted with effort as he hung from the bar. It was a very challenging position. He strained, holding the heavy sack between his legs, his body shaking. The training was incredibly hard. Sweat dripped down his face as he pushed through the pain. He refused to give up, despite the difficulty. Two other trainees watched in amazement, impressed by their fellows. They couldn't believe how tough everyone was. They noticed how determined everyone looked, driven by sheer willpower. The ground was filled with the discarded rice sacks. Many continued to train, running with the heavy sacks on their backs. It was a test of both strength and endurance. The man stumbled, feeling the weight of the sack, almost collapsing. He knew he had to keep going. He thought about how bad it would be if he gave up and fell down again. He forced himself to endure. Another trainee nearby encouraged him, saying to endure because there wasn't much time left. They were all in this together. The man pushed through, focusing on the encouragement. He looked determined, even with the immense effort. About a month passed with this kind of intense training. Everyone worked hard every single day. Finally, the young master announced that they had all endured well and the special training was ending today. Everyone cheered at the news. He then instructed everyone to untie their ropes and drop their heavy sacks. A wave of relief washed over the trainees. Everyone excitedly threw off their sacks, celebrating the end of the grueling training. Their cheers filled the air. However, the young master quickly shattered their joy by announcing that the same training would happen every summer and winter. The trainees were shocked. He added that the next training would be in a few months, during winter. He then offered a small comfort. He said the future training would be easier because they would have already experienced it. Experience would make a big difference. He stressed that experience was very important. He reminded them that while this phase was over, the journey wasn't. He asked if everyone understood his words. The trainees listened carefully to the young master. They all responded with a resounding yes, showing their commitment. They were ready for whatever came next. The young master then held his sword, declaring that from that moment on, he would start practical sparring training. This was the next step. He stood tall and strong, ready to lead them into this new phase. His presence was commanding, surrounded by a red glow. He explained that this new sparring would take their experience to a whole new level. He called out names, telling those chosen to step forward with their weapons. Their brief moment of joy from ending the earlier training quickly vanished. The trainees realized the true challenge was just beginning. They were beaten and knocked out, suffering what felt like endless pain. This was the intense reality of the sparring. But over time, all that suffering turned into valuable experience, and this experience brought about significant changes in them. The group once known as the Four Fiends of Mount Jung had transformed. They had become the new martial arts instructors for the Manhwa clan. The clan was quietly but quickly starting to revive. The Manhwa clan began to look like the strong martial family it once was, shining brightly in the area. The grand building stood as a symbol of its return. The clan grounds buzzed with activity, showing the renewed strength and spirit of its members. Training was everywhere. Young Master Dojin trained with great enthusiasm, hitting a practice dummy with a shout. He looked lively and motivated. One of the new instructors praised young Master Dojin's punch, saying he was doing well. He continued to guide him. The instructor advised Dojin to rotate his body more at the moment of impact for an even stronger shock. Two elders watched, pleased. The elders noted that young Master Dojin seemed to have regained his energy. They felt a huge sense of relief seeing him so well. They also wondered who would have thought he would get along so well with the Four Fiends of Mount Jung. They agreed, but said the most important thing was young Master Mujin getting himself together and strengthening the clan's core. Things were going so smoothly it almost made them nervous. Another elder agreed, mentioning that sometimes young Master Mujin still seemed a bit wild. They worried about him. They wondered if young Master Mujin would finally come out of the warehouse that day. He had been secluded for a while. Inside the warehouse, young Master Mujin sat alone, focusing his energy. A soft blue glow surrounded him. He was meditating, sending his internal energy into a special folding screen. The screen pulsed with power. His eyes glowed as he concentrated, pushing more energy into the screen. The blue energy swirled around him intensely. He questioned if his efforts were enough to improve something important. He realized the screen was no ordinary item. He understood that the more internal energy he poured into the screen, the stronger it returned the energy. It was a challenging exchange. The screen shimmered with power, reflecting his own strength back at him. It was a true test of his abilities. He looked determined, ready to confront the powerful energy from the screen. He declared he would see who would win this inner battle.